Good morning, everyone. I would like to call to order the meeting of the Board of County Commissioners. Today is September 3rd, 2024. The time is 9:30. We'll call it 9:30. I would like to call up Rabbi Nicole Luna from Temple Beth El for the invocation. Please stand. And good morning. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you so much for this invitation. I'm honored to share an invocation from the Jewish tradition. Almighty God, we thank you for the health and strength to come together this morning for the sacred task of engaging in the needs of our community. We ask for your blessing upon our county commissioners and all those who play a leadership role in our county. Give them wisdom and insight as they tackle the issues and challenges of leading this great community forward. We are all made in your image, God, all vessels for your holiness, and you are with and love each and every one of us. May the discussions and decisions made this morning honor the divine found within us, honor you, so that we may live up to your call for tzedek, justice and righteousness, and shalom, peace and well-being. When we work to repair this world, when we offer compassion and love, we answer your call. When we fight to eradicate poverty, injustice, and discrimination, we answer your call. When we make a choice to help another human being in need instead of averting our gaze, we answer your call. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'tzorchei tzibor. Blessed are you, eternal our God, ruler of the universe, who makes us holy with commandments, commands us to engage in the needs of our community. Amen.
Please remain standing and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. All right, before we get started, I'm going to make a quick change this morning. I'm going to move item 1 to number 4, simply because the other items will go fast, and I have over probably close to 2 hours worth of cards here. So it won't be much of a delay, but I feel like out of respect for the other things on the agenda, it would be the right move for us to do that today. So I'm going to go ahead and make that change. So let's move on to the ceremonials. We have 2 ceremonial presentations this morning. I would like to recognize Commissioner Hammond for the first presentation.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. I'd like to ask Trish Rout, Jennifer Lambert, Lily Canfield, and Danae Henley, anybody else who's here with the Crime Stoppers group, to please come up to the podium. And once you reach the podium, I'm going to go ahead and read a ceremonial proclamation into the record. Hey, Trish, good morning. That's it, just you today? Nobody else with you? Bring the whole crew if they want, whoever wants to get in the picture.
You're being shy.
All right,
I guess you're
fine.
just getting me.
I'll read the proclamation into the record, and then we'll take a picture real quick, Trish, and then afterwards, I'd love for you to say a few words about Crime Stoppers. Okay, so the proclamation reads as follows. Whereas Southwest Florida Crime Stoppers began in 1981 and continues to be a very successful and worthwhile community program. Crime Stoppers serves Charlotte, Collier, Hendry, Glades, and Lee counties and is designed to solve crimes with the help of concerned citizens by offering reward money and complete anonymity for information that assists in bringing criminals face-to-face with justice. Whereas in 1994, Student Crime Stoppers was implemented in Charlotte and Lee counties in middle and high schools and continues today. Operating in exactly the same fashion, Student Crime Stoppers and Crime Stoppers combine to make Southwest Florida a safer place to live. Whereas Crime Stoppers is a 501c3 organization supported by donations of money, goods, and services. These donations enable Crime Stoppers to replenish their reward accounts and profile unsolved felony crimes through print, radio, and television media, along with billboards, posters, and advertising on Lee-Tran buses. And whereas over the past 43 years, Southwest Florida Crime Stoppers tips have resulted in nearly $4 million in recovered property and nearly $15.4 million in narcotics seized. Additionally, 21,191 arrests have resulted in the closure of nearly 22,000 cases. To date, cash rewards in excess of $2.3 million have been distributed. And whereas Southwest Florida Crime Stoppers is celebrating its 43rd year of service to Southwest Florida, and its board members are very proud of the program's accomplishments, and they look forward to many more years of its partnership with the community. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of County Commissioners of Lee County, Florida proclaims the month of September as Southwest Florida Crime Stoppers Month in Lee County, and encourages all citizens to support the work of this very worthwhile program that helps keep our community safe. It's executed this 3rd day of September by our chairman. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. We'll take a picture real quick. Very good. Tricia, if you'd say a few words from the podium.
On behalf of the Board of Crime Stoppers, we sincerely appreciate the support of the Lee County Board of Commissioners. We've been in partnership with you all for centuries now, and we know that anytime that there's anything that comes up in our community where there's a need, that we can rely on the commission to be there for support, both with our grant. Just a couple weeks ago, we held a press conference with the Gulf Coast Humane Society. Commissioner Pendergrass was there and offered his support for our dogfighting initiative. So we are incredibly thankful for everything that you all do for Crime Stoppers, and we look forward to many, many more years of working with you all. Thank you guys so much.
Our pleasure. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Pendergrass, would you like to present the last ceremonial presentation?
Yes, Chairman, thank you. If I could have Howard Gold and the Little League King come forward, please. You got the baseball players here this morning. Come on, guys. What a way to get out of school today. Go play some baseball after this, right? Thank you to the parents, too, for coming down and getting the kids down. So we have a special proclamation. You all just stand there by Howard, and afterward we'll come up here and get a picture. Kind of like you're in batting order here. You guys know who this is, right? You guys know this is the big league guy. Okay, I'd like to read a proclamation recognizing the Little League. Whereas the current group of 12-year-olds in South Fort Myers Youth Baseball have achieved a very special accomplishment. Whereas they qualified to participate in the Florida State Tournament for 9-year-olds in 2021 in Palm Beach Gardens, and whereas they qualified for the participating in the Florida State Tournament for 10-year-olds in 2022 in Ocala. And whereas they qualified the Florida State Tournament for 11-year-olds in Palm Beach Gardens and emerged as state champions 2023. Good job, guys. Whereas they qualified for the Florida State Tournament for 12-year-olds in Ocala in 2024 and lost 2 very close games with a score of 4-5 and 6-5. Whereas they have first age group in South Fort Myers history in Lee County to accomplish this remarkable feat for playing at 4 consecutive state tournaments. Now therefore be resolved, the Board of County Commissioners of Lee County does hereby recognize the South Fort Myers youth baseball team for their historical run and excellence, duly executed and signed by our big league hitter, Mike Greenwell. Thank you, guys.
We're going to get a picture first and then have you
Come on up
speak.
here, Howard, we'll get a picture, then when you speak. You guys, if you could pass one, I got one for everybody on the team and the coaches there. Thank you.
Congratulations.
The moms want to come down and get a picture real quick? I saw some moms trying to get some pictures. Go ahead, stand up, please.
My son was a little late. He's in the Army now, so I'm sending him a picture.
Thank you. Thank you. Howard, or one of the coaches who's going to speak?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, y'all go stand back there with Coach. There you go.
I'd like to recognize Howard. You've been doing this since 2001, I guess? Yeah, 24 years for you now. Okay.
I'm Howard Gold, President of South Fort Myers Baseball over at Ruttenberg Park. I moved here 36 years ago from Atlanta to be the construction manager for for the historic restoration of this building in '88 and '89. I've been a volunteer at South Fort Myers for nearly 30 years, president for the last 24. And it is a pleasure to have our league recognized in this historic building. As Cecil said, these fellas have been to 4 straight state tournaments, 9-year-olds, 10-year-olds, 11s, and 12s. Actually ended up as state champions the 11-year-old year. The one-run games didn't go our way this summer. I would like to recognize Sean Wallace, Steve Sizemore, 2 coaches that aren't here, Aaron Manning and Shane McDowell, for their years of service and accomplishment. And I would like to acknowledge the commissioners, Dave and the administration, Parks and Rec, Billy and the crew at Ruttenberg Park. In the last 7 years, we've dealt with Hurricane Irma, COVID in 20 and 21, Ian in 22, no lights in 23. It's been a few crazy years, and I'd like to thank you all for your dedication and the support of youth sports in Lee County, not just baseball, but football, soccer, everything else. After the photo, and here, guys, we'll try to avoid the crowd. We'll meet out at the bottom of the marble staircase and go outside and get a picture out there. Anyway, thank you, everybody, and hopefully we'll see y'all next year.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to the parents to get these kids involved with outdoor activities. So important now to keep the kids active and outdoor. Howard, thank you for your many, many years of service.
Yeah, and never stop dreaming, guys. You never know. You're liable to end up being on the Red Sox roster someday.
Man, I want to come here after
Or
that.
the Yankees. Or the Yankees. It happens. So,
It's not Chicago, right?
yeah. All right, that concludes the ceremonials. All right, so that concludes the ceremonial presentation this morning. I would like to recognize Commissioner Hammond for the first, I'm sorry, I'm going backwards, my bad. All right, so that concludes the ceremonial presentations. We'll move to the recap. There are no items to defer and no revisions or corrections. Let's move to the consent agenda. Commissioner Hammond, do you have any items to pull?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, good morning. Thank you. I would like to pull item C19.
Okay. All right. So,
I have no items to pull.
no items to pull?
No items to
Any items to pull from Mr. Sandelli?
No items to pull, sir.
No items to pull. I have none, so,
Move the balance.
Okay, and I'll second his motion to approve the balance of the consent agenda.
okay. I need to open up for public comment.
Public comment.
Public comment on the consent agenda at this time. Seeing none, I will close public comment. Any objections? No objections. Consent agenda moves unanimous, 5-0.
Item C19.
We've got to pull C19, so.
Thank you,
Go ahead,
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Hammond.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to just highlight this item because what we're about to do here, this item approves accepting a donation in the amount of $10,000 from the North Fort Myers Civic Association. The funding here is going to be used to purchase a livestock scale that will be used at the Lee Civic Center. This scale is going to be primarily used at the Southwest Florida Ag Expo, and it will benefit 4-H and FFA participants. And we do have several members of the Civic Association here. I first just wanted to share my gratitude and thanks for what you guys did to raise this money and to make this is a huge donation, $10,000. I know that generations of kids now will appreciate being able to use this scale and continue to learn more about agriculture. And Commissioner, I know that's a topic very near and dear to your heart too.
Yeah, if I could add to that, Commissioner, we appreciate y'all's efforts. Getting involved with the youth is so important, and obviously it's been something dear to my heart for a long time. So thank y'all, truly thank you, and I'd love for y'all to come up and speak. The ones that want to, I have a couple cards.
Very good.
Tony Hill. And Bob Hill, you'll be next.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Commissioners. After the Southwest Florida Ag Expo last February, and the 100th anniversary of the Lee County Fair, the North Fort Myers Civic Association Board of Directors agreed unanimously we wanted to be part of the next 100 years. What a better way than something tangible, something useful, something meaningful, and something strong. So I called Mackenzie at the Lee Civic Center, and I told her what we had in mind, but I didn't know what we were looking for. And did she have anything in her bag of wishes for us? And she said, well, I'll tell you what, this couldn't come at a better time. She said, we're looking to buy a livestock scale and put it in the newly remodeled livestock barn. Well, the light bulb went off in my head. I heard hallelujah in the background, and I knew that we found our purpose. So if I would like to introduce my board directors that are here. Would you stand when I call your name? Christy Lee Iwano, she's the vice president. Bob Hill, director. Allison Savage Font is my secretary. And Kelly Young, director. I don't know if Matt's here or not, doesn't look like it. So on behalf of myself, Tony Hill, the president, the North Fort Myers Civic Association, I'm sappy, so I'm not going to cry, is proud to support the participants of 4-H, FFA, and the Southwest Florida Ag Expo. So with our heartfelt contribution towards the purchase of the livestock scale, we're giving you a check for $10,000.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Chairman, I know this is a little out of order, but maybe we can take a picture with the group that came today
Absolutely.
as they present the check to the board.
Absolutely. All the board, come on up, we'll get a picture.
Yeah. I'll make sure we get that to the clerk. I don't know who deposited it. The county attorney. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bob, do you want to go ahead and speak? Okay, Bob Hill.
Bob Hill for the record. North Fort Myers Civic Association. You know, I see the work all y'all do. I've been coming here for 2 years. I take records or take notes for my constituents over there, so we keep an eye. Anyway, we appreciate everything y'all do, and us kids in the North Fort Myers, we need all the 4-H help we can get. So thanks. Thanks again. It's a special day for us. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Bob.
Bless y'all.
Okay, at this time, would anyone else like to speak on C-19? Okay, seeing none, I will close public comment.
Mr. Chairman, I'll gladly make the motion to approve.
I will second. Any further discussion? Any objections?
I'd like to recognize who's been involved with all these projects in the past, the Civic Center and the North Fort Myers Rec Center and the library, is Doug Muir. He's one of our past county managers here. So Doug, thank you for being here this morning. Nice seeing you back in the chambers. So
Yes.
Thank you for all your years of service.
I guess I should go ahead and add to that as well, Commissioner. I can't tell you how kind of tough that was to do what we did as commissioners to get the Civic Center back in the condition that it's in. We're very proud of that. We're going to have something great in the future there, and it's going to continue to be part of Lee County for as long as I'm concerned, ever. So thanks for everyone getting involved and helping the youth out there. We were able to bring it to the attention that we build a lot of ball fields, we build a lot of soccer fields, but we need to take care of those 4-H kids as well, and we're doing that. So we're very proud of that. So any further discussions? Any objections? C-19 moves unanimous 5-0.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, so now we will be moving on. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Administration 2. Oh, okay. Yeah, so at this time, we're going to move to administrative agenda, and we're going to go to item number 2. So, Mr. Harner, please introduce item number 2.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This item is to award the CDBG-DR funds for public facilities and infrastructure projects. I'd like to ask Mr. Salyer to present the item.
Commissioners, this item contains 2 parts, the first of which is your consideration of awarding just over $229 million of Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Funds for public facilities and critical infrastructure projects. These projects would be undertaken by the county, all 6 municipalities, and the school district. And I do want to point out that there are also nonprofits, fire districts, other independent districts included in this when they've affiliated themselves with one of the sponsoring jurisdictions. If we could go to the second slide, thank you. The second part asks, staff asks your direction to prepare some requests that HUD grant additional flexibility in the use of these funds going forward. We've talked a lot about the fact that 70% of these funds have to be spent for the benefit of low, moderate income households. Once you have awarded housing funds, which you will see later this month, we will largely have exhausted the low, moderate income projects that have come before us for consideration. And so it would be time then to request of HUD that they drop that 70% requirement to a lower threshold. Typically, we see something around 50%. They've never gone lower than that, but if they were to lower that threshold, you could then use more of the funds for infrastructure and other projects. And then secondly, we would also ask for, it's called a Buildings for the General Conduct of Government Waiver and Alternative Requirement. What that means in English is that you could use these funds on facilities where general government services are provided. So right now you can't do that. If it contains any administrative function, it really renders the project largely ineligible. This waiver would actually make that kind of project eligible. So if you have any questions, I'll try to answer those now.
At this time, do we have any questions for staff? Okay, seeing none, I will call for public comment. I do not see any cards on this, so would anyone want to speak on this item?
Mayor, the mayor's here.
Oh, I'm sorry, I did have that. I'm sorry, Mayor, I did miss you. There it is. Mayor Richard Johnson, please.
Good morning, Commissioners, and better late than never, Mike.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
A lot of cards up here today, sir.
So the Community Block Grant Disaster Recovery Program, great program, well done. Thank you, Glenn, for your comments to open up. It leads right into why I want to speak to you this morning. Gentlemen, I think I know you've been throughout Lee County and looked at the disaster after Hurricane Ian. And I think you'll agree with me that no other communities other than Fort Myers Beach and Sanibel were more impacted than anybody else. I know we have some larger impacts, but the devastation in those 2 communities was significant. City of Sanibel and our community partners applied for 14 applications, and it includes 4 public facilities and 10 critical infrastructure projects that you've heard a little bit about already. County staff had numerous applications processed. We want to thank the county staff for the work in reviewing and funding recommendations today. We know it was difficult and with great need and applications that exceed available funding. The projects your staff and the CDBG-DR Public Facilities and Critical Infrastructure Evaluation Committee have recommended include 3 Sanibel projects receiving funding of approximately $28 million. We're grateful for those 3 projects and have been recommended for funding, and I'm not here today to ask any of those recommendations to change before you. Our community is asking for your help in that Sanibel seeks a waiver from the HUD funding criteria should additional funding be available for public facility projects in the future. One of our applications is to request funding to construct a new resilient police station in the amount of a little over $13 million. The lower level of our existing station was completely inundated with flood water, rendering it totally useless. So during the time of recovery, our command center, once we were able to return to the island, our command center was under a tent, and it remained that way for many months. As Assistant County Manager pointed out, there is a general administrative use for that police station as well. Our chief and deputy chief will be housed in that building. As a result, that's the need for the waiver. City Sanibel, in their funding application, requested that waiver from HUD's determination and can be granted by HUD. County staff's agenda report states Public Facility and Infrastructure Evaluation Committee met on August 12th when we request that the BoCC request buildings for general conduct of government waiver and alternative requirement for HUD. I'd just like to be sure, I'm standing here before you today, just to make sure that we get the Sanibel Police Station covered under that waiver, so it puts it in a position for future funding. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, would anyone else like to speak on this item at this time? Okay, seeing none, I will close public comment. Would anyone like to make a motion?
Question?
Oh, yes, sir.
Thank you. So Glenn, you just heard from the mayor of Sanibel. What you're proposing on the screen is to have something lower than 70% low to moderate income waiver, and also waiving, which the mayor just addressed, would obviously take care of that consideration. Is that the way I understand what you have on the screen?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay. With that in mind, gentlemen, I think there's a great opportunity for us to continue to advocate for the unmet need. We obviously submitted $9.4 billion. We only have $1 billion awarded. I'm sure there'll be other opportunities. But with that in mind, I would recommend that we lower the threshold to 50% for consideration, not for anything other than consideration. And also the waiver is important. I think it's really important. The mayor just indicated the issue he's having, and since it was the 11th hour, it gives Sanibel an opportunity to deal with it. Not that I'm advocating that we put any advanced funding, but just have the list more comprehensive. So as we go out and particularly get more funds, we have greater availability. We did submit the unmet need list, which basically had all the projects, didn't have necessarily a scoring criteria, 60%, 70%, 80%, but those were the projects the community thought they met. So that would be my motion.
Second.
All right. Any further discussion?
I just have a question.
Mr.
Glenn, when you
Second.
start talking about moving some numbers around in deference to the community and planning, how long will it take to get to that, and from a timing perspective, so they can plan accordingly if this all moves forward?
Great question, Commissioner. I'm not sure I can give you a good timeline. The board submitted a waiver request to HUD to harden Hertz Arena in the beginning of May. We had already been talking to them for 2 months before we submitted it, and it is still pending. I don't expect that these waivers would take as long, but I really can't say for sure. So
Okay,
it might
I'm just trying to help the community anticipate what could be coming and when. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Further discussion?
Chairman?
Commissioner Hammond.
Sure. Mr. Harner, you could direct it to Mr. Salyer probably. But do we want to reach out to our federal delegation, maybe Senator Rick Scott, Congressman Donalds, Congressman Stuckey as well, to seek their support for the waivers, for both waivers?
Commissioner Hammond, absolutely. I believe we have indications from them that they do support at least the income waiver. We've not talked to them about the second one, but we certainly can.
Okay, yeah, I think that's important that we do that. You know, try to engage everybody who could help us. I think these waivers make a tremendous amount of sense. You know, obviously we're going to do a tremendous amount of housing as part of this $1.1 billion, but you highlighted the unmet need that we have. You know, it's also been highlighted by the mayor of Sanibel that while they may not meet the low to moderate income threshold, they did have severe damage, maybe even one of the most damaged community, and you know they deserve to have some of these dollars help them rebuild what was lost in their community. So, I support it.
Commissioner.
Thank you. I support the motion. I have my questions to Glenn. We all know for every action there's a reaction. So changing this threshold, will that affect others in line for money? Will it cut funding from other entities or at all? Because there's only so much money. So will this change that?
What this could potentially change, Commissioner, is the amount of funding that you currently have in reserve for additional affordable housing development. So right now, there's $200 million pending that you will see later this month for award. There's another $150 million behind that. In talking to developers in the community, there is some concern that flooding the market with this many tax credit deals at one time might impact the value of the tax credits that the developers are using to deliver this housing. So we do need to have a conversation with the board about how much of that reserve housing funding might be redirected elsewhere to include infrastructure. I hope that answers your question. The answer is, it doesn't affect anything until the board makes some future decisions.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, Commissioner Rain has a motion on the floor, a second from Commissioner Hammond. Any objections? Seeing no objections, item moves 5-0 unanimous. Please introduce item number 3.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This item is to authorize Chief Hearing Examiner's annual merit increase.
Okay, all right, at this time, I'm going to, before we begin discussing the item, I will be abstaining from vote due to a pending land use case, and I will file the Form 8B with the clerk. Vice Chair Rain, would you please take over at this point and let me know when the voting is complete?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
So we're going to introduce the hearing examiner's annual merit increase. Dave, I don't know who's introducing that from staff.
Mr. Chairman, if I can be of assistance.
Thank you, sir.
We would just point out that contractually and annually, the board is obligated to consider a merit increase for the hearing officer. She is one of your 4 contract employees. Pursuant to her employment agreement, as with your other 3 contractual employees, the range of her merit increase would be between 4 and 6%. So given the evaluations that you all have performed that are in your backup material and part of the public record, I would respectfully request a motion with a specific percentage amount included.
I make a motion to approve the hearing examiner's contract with a 6% increase based upon the evaluations, and currently that's what we're doing for the general employees also.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Motion by Commissioner Pendergrass, second by Commissioner Sandilli. Any public comment? Seeing none, I'll close public comment. Any other discussion? Anyone opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Did someone tell Commissioner Greenwell he can come back in?
Too quick for you?
Thank you, Commissioner Rain.
Commissioner Greenwell, I hand the mic back over to you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right. All right, Mr. Harner, please introduce item 4.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This item is to award contract to construct Lakes Park Water Quality Improvements Phase 3, and I'd like to ask Mr. Ottolini to present the item.
Morning, Commissioners. Roland Ottolini, Natural Resources. This award a contract to Higgins Incorporated for approximately $4.3 million for the construction of the alum injection facility for the West Lake and Lakes Park. As you may know, we have a TMDL for Hendry Creek right now for reducing total nitrogen. This will get us to that point where we will be meeting that obligation. I'm here for any questions you may have.
Any questions for staff?
Just one,
Mr.
Mr.
Hammond.
Chairman. Yeah, just out of curiosity, so how will we, do you have a measuring point? How will we measure the water that now will flow out of Lakes Park into the creek to show the actual reduction?
Yes, we brought a consultant on board to test this technology. So they have to get the pH right and certain doses of alum reduction. And so what they do is they take water quality samples of the water quality before you do the work and then after the treatment's done. So it will require some low dosing of alum throughout the year to keep that clarity and the reduction of nitrogen, but also reduces phosphorus as well as bacteria. So it should go a long way of making that West Lake really clean.
So you'll be testing it though a couple times throughout the year though to ensure that this is doing what it said it was going to do?
Absolutely. It'll be part of the operating plan for the project.
Okay, great. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions for staff at this time? Okay, I will call for public comment. Would anyone like to speak on this item? Okay, seeing none, I will close public comment. Does someone like to make a motion?
I'll move approval. Second.
Okay, move approval from Commissioner Pendergrass, a second from Commissioner Hammond. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, any objections? No objections, the motion carries unanimous. Okay, let's go back to,
Chairman?
yes.
If I could make a suggestion, I just realized we only have one other item after this before we go to item 1, the public hearing item, and I know there's staff here for that and from outside sources. Would the board be inclined to take that up too before we move on to item number 1? It's going to be a few hours of public comment. We have one public hearing.
Mr. County Attorney, please. Any problem with that?
Mr. Chairman, no, that's at the board's discretion, and staff is present and ready to go if you'd like to go to public hearing number 1.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner.
All right, so, all right, that's fine. We'll go ahead. Let's go to public hearing agenda at this time. And we have, please introduce item 1. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Amanda Swindle for the record with the County Attorney's Office. I have your first public hearing, which has been legally advertised. This public hearing is to certify the special assessment roll for the fiscal year 2025 solid waste special assessments. This will implement the rates that were approved on August 6th, and staff is here if you have any questions.
Any questions for staff at this time? Okay, no questions. I will call for public comment. Anyone wish to speak on this item, item 1? Okay, seeing none, I will close public comment.
I move the item.
Okay, we have a motion to
Second.
approve from Commissioner Pendergrass, second from Commissioner Hammond. Any further discussion? Any objections? Seeing none, item 1 moves unanimous, 5-0. Okay, at this time, we will move back to item 1 on the administrative agenda. Please introduce item 1 of the administrative agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Board members, item number 1 is a proposed resolution that you all directed our office to prepare and present to you for consideration. The amendment text would serve to express the board's opposition to the proposed constitutional amendment number 4, which will appear on the general election ballot this November 5th. Commissioners, if I could just engage in a quick discussion, because I've heard some comments that the argument is the board is without authority to express its opinion and is beyond the scope of your charter. I would point out that argument fails for 2 reasons. One, I think those that are advancing that argument are trying to make a supremacy clause argument. And by that I mean, obviously our charter contains language which speaks to it cannot conflict or supersede the state constitution or state law. We all know that to be true. That is a statement in our charter. However, it is more importantly a statement contained in Florida law. But more importantly, perhaps for the purpose of this discussion, the resolution that you have before you is just that. It's a resolution. It is not an ordinance. The board, by its action today, is not mandating or prohibiting any type of conduct. It is merely an expression of the board's view on a proposed constitutional amendment. It is our office's opinion that you are well within your authority to either approve or not approve as the board sees fit as the representatives of the people of Lee County. And with that, if you have any further questions of our office, we'd be happy to advise. If not, given the board's previously instituted directions, we would respectfully request approval.
Okay. Any questions or statements for the staff at this time? Okay, seeing none, I will call for public comment at this time. I have a lot of cards, and I just want everyone to, we expect a certain amount of quorum in here, okay? Everyone's going to get their 3 minutes. When the light is orange, it means you have 1 minute. When it's red, that means you're done. So I do not like to cut people off, but unfortunately I will because we have so many cards and everybody gets the same amount of time. Also, I would also like to address the fact that we expect quorum in here, we expect respect. Don't boo, hiss, clap, let everyone speak. We don't want anyone to feel intimidated. And please address the board as the board, not individuals. No attacks. You get your time to speak, and please do. But remember, we're gonna listen and all show respect today. So I really would appreciate that. And we will start off with State Representative Jenna Persons-Mullica. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. For the record, Jenna Persons-Mullica, proud to represent you in the Florida House as a state representative for House District 78. And with me, we have Senator Jonathan Martin here as well.
Good morning, Senator.
On behalf of both of us, we want to say thank you for bringing forward this resolution for consideration and respectfully ask that you adopt this resolution today. It is so important to bring awareness to this deceptive and extreme amendment that is Amendment 4. When the voters of Lee County and across the state do their research, read those 34 words, ask why are there no definitions? What do these words truly mean? Read the financial impact statement. I am confident that when they do their research, they will join us in voting no on 4. If you believe in parental consent before a minor seeks an abortion, you should vote no on 4. If you believe that an abortion procedure should only be performed by a licensed doctor, you should vote no on 4. If you don't believe in abortion on demand up until the time of birth, if you don't believe in late-term abortions when a baby can feel pain, you should vote no. And if you don't believe in using taxpayer dollars to fund abortions in the state of Florida, you should vote no on 4. If you don't believe that our Constitution should enshrine the right to taxpayer-funded abortions on demand up until birth without parental consent, you should vote no on 4. You have an opportunity to express your voice in November, but if this amendment passes, that will be your only opportunity. It will tie our hands in the legislature to do good, more work for you to represent your voice in Tallahassee. Those who are pushing this abortion amendment are trying to fool Floridians, but Floridians are not fools. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Senator, would you like to speak as well?
Thank you. I echo those words, and I appreciate you bringing this up on the agenda today, and I appreciate your support for voting no on number
Thank
4.
you for being here. Okay, up next will be Rick Carter, and after that will be Sonny Lubner.
My name is Rick Carter. I'm a Lee County resident, and I'm a born-again Christian and a small business owner, and I'm here to ask you today to pass a resolution to oppose Amendment 4. If there was an amendment coming down to reinstate slavery in Florida, would you be neutral? I know there's some people that are saying that your job is to be neutral, but it's not. Imagine that. Colonial slaves were people, and they were dehumanized to justify their enslavement. And the people that are advocating for Amendment 4 to be passed, they dehumanize the people that are in the wombs, these babies. When in Nazi Germany, they dehumanized the Jews. They said they were subhuman so that they could justify murdering them en masse. This is happening right now in our country, our own infanticide, our own Holocaust right now. You cannot be neutral on this. There is no neutral stance. If you say you're neutral, you're giving tacit approval to those people who are murdering innocent babies. You're turning a blind eye to it. I don't know if you're aware of this, but there was a cruise ship filled with Jewish people that tried to come into Florida in 1939. They were trying to escape the persecution from Nazi Germany. And we turned them away, and they went back to Europe, and they were murdered. They were by the Jews. There is a book of remembrance in heaven. I don't know if you guys are God-fearing or not, but you need to be, because there is a book of remembrance. After death comes a judgment. You will be standing before God one day. There is not going to be an appeal that you can make on that day. And he is going to open the book of remembrance, and see if you are advocating for the life of these innocent babies or giving tacit approval to their death. And they are made in the image of God. And I ask you to have a heart for these babies, for these children. This is not a political football. These are innocent children that are being murdered. They're people in the womb. They're not just clumps of cells. It's not a cyst on a woman's arm that they have to cut off. It's a human being inside the womb. And I'm just asking you to pass this resolution, have a heart, be men, and defend the innocent, and take a stand against this wickedness that they are trying to bring into our state. Taxpayer-funded abortion on demand, even up to birth. It is heinous. It is wicked. It is evil. And I'm asking you to stand against it. Thank you.
All right, up next is Sonny Lovner, and after that will be Harley Killenall.
Good morning, gentlemen. Mine is less a comment than a question, which I ask with deep respect. How do 5 men tell me or any other woman what we are permitted to do with our own bodies? Thank you.
Okay, Harley. After that will be Lisette Vega. Yes, and just, you don't have to touch the mic, just state your name, please, and correct me if I pronounced it wrong. And
Okay,
go ahead.
my name is Harley Killo. Thank you for having me today. I would like to come out and say, when I was a teenager, I was impregnated by a partner who was mentally, physically, and sexually abusive. And thanks to my right to have an abortion, I was able to no longer ever have to deal with that partner ever again. Due to the pro-birth movement and rhetoric, I was afraid to speak to my parents about this, and I had to suffer this trauma alone and carry this burden alone for a long time until I finally admitted to my mother that I ended up having an abortion so that I could no longer have to face that partner ever again. And my mother is a Christian woman and admitted to me that she's glad and grateful that when I was a young girl, a teenager, I was awarded that privilege to be able to have an abortion. And I hope to God that any other young girls or women with at-risk pregnancies or even children who unfortunately were victims of rape and were impregnated will be awarded the same right that I was. And that's just the kind of context and perspective that I would like to offer the board today. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Lisette Vega, please no clapping, please. Up next after Lisette Vega. Is that here? Okay, coming, okay. Joyce Campana will be next. If I mispronounce your name, please correct it when you come up.
Hello, my name's Lisette, and you said it properly. Like many other young women, I have a similar outlook that I don't believe that anyone should have a choice in what I decide to do with my body. Amendment 4, I believe, should stay the way that it is and should be passed as is. I just want to remind everyone here that this amendment does not necessarily condone, it ensures, like there's other laws here in Florida that ensure that, there are medical professionals doing these procedures. There's been a lot of misinformation, in my opinion, that, that there is nothing preventing anything unsafe from happening. Pardon me, this is just a very sore subject for me. I just wanted to mention that removing safe abortions also does not prevent them from happening. If you decide to pass or reword this in a way to where in the future there could be a possibility that there are no safe abortions, it's not going to stop that from happening. Now the parent and the fetus will be at risk. If you really want to save lives, you have to make sure that you're protecting everyone involved, not just a hypothetical child. I just don't believe that the government or anyone in this room should be able to decide or impede my ability to receive medical care, and that's what this is. It's easy to pass judgment or condemn something that roughly half the population will never be, forced to experience. But pregnancy isn't easy, and it almost never goes as planned, even if it is something that the parents chose to have happened. I didn't ask to be born a woman, and I didn't ask to have the ability to carry a child. And, I don't care if anyone here despises me or berates me for the choices I made, but what, it comes down to is that it was my choice to have that happen. I did it to keep myself safe. I did it to ensure my future. And I just wanted to say that opinions on what I can do with my body should stay just that, opinions and not future legislation. And I'd like to also end this by saying that I used to be very religious when I was younger until certain events in my life have, happened. And I just wanted to say that there's a reason, that God gave us free will, if that's what you believe in. And it should, maintain free will. And that's all I have to say.
All right, thank you, Joyce Capano. After that will be Leah Generitz.
Good morning. My name is Joyce Campana. I'm here today to express my opposition to the proposed resolution on Amendment 4. The resolution claims that the amendment is vaguely worded and detrimental to the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of Lee County and the state of Florida. The Florida Division of Elections does not agree with your interpretation of Amendment 4 as presented in the resolution. There are other sections of state statutes to protect citizens. First, Florida Stat 390.01114 recognizes physicians to obtain written consent from a parent before performing an abortion on a minor. Second, Florida Stat 390.0111(2) allows only licensed physicians to perform abortions. It is misleading and inaccurate to state that Amendment 4 would strike already enacted protections instituted by the state of Florida by broadening the definition of a healthcare provider to those not medically licensed. The amendment does not state that healthcare providers do not have to be licensed. That's just made up. This resolution is based on what-ifs and pure speculation about lawsuits and future court decisions. You are reacting to rhetoric and speculation instead of the facts, some of the facts that were even stated by the Florida Division of Elections. Your action is not educational but misleading to the public. It is not about public health but politics. This is political pandering to a small group. The resolution represents a waste of taxpayer dollars and your efforts to disenfranchise voters who followed the legal process to allow this amendment to be on the ballot and decided by voters. Because abortion and reproductive health have become an issue to be decided at the state level, you are doing a disservice to the residents of Lee County by interpreting or interfering with a citizen initiative. The citizens worked to get this on the ballot. If you are truly concerned about public health, you would support Amendment 4 to eliminate the dangerous backroom abortions and self-initiated abortions which were prevalent before Roe v. Wade. I'm old enough to remember the public health issue of incorrectly performed abortions, but I and many others are not too old to remember how you vote when you're up for re-election, some of you in 2026. I ask that you oppose the resolution.
Thank you. Up next is Leah Generitz. Is that right? All right. Christopher. Okay, correct me.
Felice Gerwitz.
Sure, it's okay.
I'm not going to threaten any of you county commissioners with, whether we're going to elect you or not. And I'm not going to talk about how this bill is too radical for Florida, but it is. I think most of us don't want a repeat of Virginia's governor saying that the baby would be born and then they're going to decide what to do with this baby on the table. I think most of us want health for both the mother and the baby. Many people I know, my brother included, had to go out of the country in order to adopt a baby. There are no babies up for adoption that are, very rarely can you get a baby for adoption. I love how circular reasoning is used. The government can't tell you what to do with your body, but we want this amendment to be on the Constitution so it can tell you what you can do with your body. So it's circular reasoning at best. I just want to thank you for your time, and obviously I am for the commissioners deciding that at least you can voice your opinion for us as Lee County residents. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Up next is Kenneth Scott.
Good morning. My name is Kenneth Scott, and my wife spoke here last time. She said she was an ambassador of Lord Jesus Christ, and I am too. Missionaries for the unborn children all across the country and in other places as well. And we're not hateful like they say. We try to talk to these people because we're concerned about them as well as the unborn. I myself have a testimony. In 1979, I had a girlfriend I was flipped out over with. She got pregnant and she said, pay this abortion or she doesn't even have anything to do with me anymore. I went to church twice a year, called myself a Christian. I wasn't, but basically I didn't want to lose her. So I went to Planned Parenthood, paid for the abortion, and afterwards she left. You can't normally even build a relationship off of an abortion because you're always thinking about it. That girlfriend, about 11 years later, I got saved. And when I got saved, at that point, I wanted to be a missionary, and I didn't know where I wanted to go because I went through 2 divorces. I was thinking of suicide. And at that point, the Lord laid on my heart to speak out against abortion in this country. I'm not better than those people over there. The whole thing is we have a message that God forgives if you repent. Anyone that's had an abortion, an abortionist, if that abortionist, there are people that are abortionists that have changed their mind and are not doing abortions now and talking about it. A woman in Texas owned an abortion business, did 30,000 abortions, and afterwards she came to the knowledge and asked the Lord into her life, and she speaks out about abortions. She can tell what abortions look like. The thing is, with our technology right now, a baby can live out of the womb at 5.5 months. Those are preemies, 5.5 months. They are across the country doing abortions 9 full months. And what are they doing with the baby body parts? There's a law by the federal law and a law here in Florida. It's called, you can't dissect babies and sell their baby body parts. There are 3 Planned Parenthoods in this state of Florida that had been doing abortions and selling the baby body parts, and one of the 3 happens to be in Fort Myers, right here in your city, that they've been selling baby body parts to the universities, to the pharmaceutical companies. They've been selling it to all types of research, and Dr. Fauci was one of the biggest promoters of it and getting most of the funds, so it goes back to the health organization of this country. And when you look at the DNA that comes out from the different parts of a baby body parts, it's in the vaccines now. Did you know that your vaccines have different parts, baby body parts? There's the science out there. With science, there is called CRISPR-Cas9.
I'm going to pause you for a second. I'm going to ask you back there.
Pardon me?
I'm going to ask the folks in the back to quit commenting, making noises, so we can hear. Just like if you come up, we're going to do the same for you. I've asked that. Please help us get through this and let everyone speak without anyone attacking anyone. Finish up, sir. About 30 seconds.
CRISPR-Cas9 is the science that they found that is like what Germany was doing, dissecting, taking the DNA, looking at the DNA. If you take and go out in space as far as you can and look at the planets, you can go down in your cell and look at all the parts of your body on CRISPR-Cas9. They can go in and take out different parts of DNA and mix it on different things. It's called chimeras.
Thank you. Your time is up. Thank you.
Thank you for hearing me.
Yes, sir. Melinda Isley. After that will be Kathy Costino.
My name is Melinda Isley, and I'm a lifelong resident of Lee County. This is silly. Why are we even discussing this? Apparently because some extremists have pressured you to do this. We never even considered approaching you with such a silly resolution. But here we are today because you did this. Commissioners, with this resolution, you are using your seats to grandstand about a personal medical issue. This is disappointing misuse of your power, and you clearly aren't listening to or caring about what your citizens want. My bet you are listening to and doing what your buddy Jenna wants you to do. Jenna Persons, who brought us the 6-week abortion ban that the majority of citizens in Florida are against, but that she is so proud of. Oh, but let me correct myself. Now you're going to be doing whatever your new buddy wants you to do. That would be Jenna's partner, who will soon be your new commissioner. Another man who I'm sure will also try to control the women of this county and this state. Well, Jenna is one woman. You need to start listening.
I don't think you need to attack a particular person.
For the
You
record,
say state
it's
representatives on the
clear.
record, whatever,
It's
right?
clear.
But attacking a particular person, really, I think it's uncalled for.
With respect, I'm just stating fact. But
So,
can I continue?
please continue.
Thank you. Before a vote has even taken place, you are trying to kill the democratic process with this resolution. While this resolution may be meaningless to some, it is incredibly insulting and an attack to the rest of us. You are trying to insert your personal, possibly religious, opinions above the will of the people. I have some options. Vote no, say you won't support this resolution, shut it down now, overrule it, refuse to take a vote on it now or in the future. But if you pass this resolution, you must also pass a complement resolution, which I've written. And it essentially says that you are for this and that it goes against it. It's not detrimental. It's positive for the people of Lee County. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next is Kathy Costino. Christopher Peoria is next.
Hi, my name is Kathy Costino. I agree to the ones that do not support this amendment. When we put these amendments together, we should be following the 10 Commandments. God written the 10 Commandments for each human being on this planet. It's very important. Aborting a baby is very evil. God wants that baby to be born. It's His creation. It's very, very important. Even in Michigan, I'm seeing all these help wanted signs everywhere. They have passed the Fourth Amendment. You know, even though that happened right away, there's a bunch of mothers and fathers, they want abortion for their babies, and it's going to start wiping out our population. Rome is dealing with that right now. 20 years from now, we're going to be driving down 41, and there's going to be help wanted signs everywhere, because we're not going to have enough population of our youth if this amendment passes. You have to think about that. Even writing this proposal, you got to think of these things for our future, for our children. You know, these children could be our next lawyers, our next senators, our doctors, landscapers, whatever. These roles will not be filled 20, 30 years from now if this proposal passes. So think about that. Okay, and open your eyes and see that this could just be control with the population even. It's not good. And thank you.
Thank you. Christopher. After that will be Madeline Levy Goss.
Hi, Christopher Peoria for the record. I'm saying that you guys should not go forward with this resolution because this is anti-democratic. The citizens voted to have this on the ballot. Every person deserves the freedom to make the choice about their own body, their own health, and their own future. I believe that if we had something that's saying men couldn't take pills to help their hearts stay alive or help their boners stay active, you guys would be all up in arms about that. But we can't allow our women to have the same freedom to control their own bodies, you know? We've heard a lot about parental consent. There's nothing in the law that changes the parental consent law. If you guys read the exact words, it says this amendment does not change the legislature's constitutional authority to require notification to a parent or guardian before a minor has an abortion. We've heard a lot about religion today. You don't hear these religious people complaining that we all wear mixed fabrics. You don't hear them saying that we can't touch the pig of a dead skin so football's out. You don't hear that. We have separation of church and state for a reason. Logic concludes that we allow everybody the freedom to make their own choice. Please don't stand in the way of democracy. When we allow abortion bans, what we see is rapists choosing their own baby mothers. We see abortion rates going up. Maybe not in the states where abortion is banned, but around them, the rates go up higher than what they were before. You're only banning safe abortions if you decide to ban abortions. And it raises suicide rates, it raises poverty, and that's what I got to say for today. But I mean, I strongly encourage you guys not to go forward with this resolution. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Okay, up next was Levy Goss. Up next after that will be Isaiah Bishop.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Madeline Goes, and I'm 19 years old, here against the dogma of my family and many, many others to oppose this resolution. While I'm nearing my 20s, I'm to come to terms with my teen years that I've spent entirely in Southwest Florida, where I've experienced more sexual violence than at any other point in my life. I was lucky enough to have resources about sexual wellness and ways to navigate myself out of the situations I had found myself in, which you also in turn demonize when you choose to demonize abortion. There's much further consequences to this decision than is being considered. Regardless of these experiences, though, it doesn't take severe trauma to fear for the future of myself and my community with culture war indulgent rhetoric such as this being taken seriously at the county level. I know I won't change your minds with 3 minutes, however, I'd like to give an insight to the opinion of the public which you claim to represent. As an individual who deeply values the well-being of my community, I am disturbed by the promotion to fearmonger potentially life-saving healthcare legislation with this proposal. The antagonistic rewording of the Fourth Amendment is dependent on misinformation backed largely by the painfully dated notion of a tethered church and state and fearful ignorance, which is all ultimately reliant on our silence. As you can see through the numbers present here and the people who we speak for who can't be here, can't afford to be here, most of whom will be directly negatively impacted by this resolution, that silence is extinguished. I stand here before 4 men incapable of conception along with its overwhelming emotions, where I ask you in earnest to consider the voices of victims, OBGYNs, doctors, trauma experts, healthcare professionals at large, and most importantly, women, in the consideration of whether or not you choose to represent this law honestly. It borders on insulting to the citizens of Lee County to give credence to and aid in legitimizing such reactionary and archaic rhetoric. Allow us, as our democracy permits, to choose. We are more than capable of making our own decisions based on our health and safety and experiences when the ballot comes. That notion should not incite fear among any of us. If this resolution passes, not only will misinformation further spread as it has in other counties like Collier, like a plague throughout the 239 area, but it will continue to threaten the livelihoods of thousands to millions of Floridians across the state. I urgently encourage you to direct your diligence towards zoning ordinances, budgeting, and contracts between municipalities. Voice your concerns on the ballot when November comes, but understand that your decision does not represent the collective voices of Lee County. Thank you.
Isaiah Bishop.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Isaiah Bishop. I'm 21 years old, small business owner, and I have been a Lee County resident my whole life. I thank my God and Savior, Jesus Christ, that my mom, she was about 17 when she got pregnant with me, and I'm very grateful that I was not aborted because it is murder, and this is something really to consider. That this amendment is just it's absurd. It proposes for, as the First Lady said, taxpayer-funded abortion on demand whenever you want it, up to even the day of birth, the 9th month, which is absurd. There should be no abortion at all. It says it is the murder of innocent children. It is a human. It is a living being from the moment of conception, from when the seed meets the embryo or the egg. It is a living being with a soul, and they should not be aborted, or they should not be murdered. And they are innocent children, and they deserve life. They should not be aborted. They should not be murdered. And I want to remind you men that, as my friend previously stated, that there is a judgment day that you will be held accountable for what happens with this amendment, whether opposed or accepted and passed into law. And that the blood will be upon your hands for every single innocent unborn baby that would be murdered from the passing of this amendment. And that with the blood, and so yes, carefully consider that and do not allow this to be passed. This is, the lady said as well, the ambiguous language, or the before viability, like it's not health care. I hear all this rhetoric from these people coming up. It's not health care to murder an innocent child. And you guys should not pass this. It goes directly against God's commands that we should not murder, we should not kill the innocent, and so yes, they're definitely. That's all I have.
Thank you. At this time, Commissioners, would y'all like to take a short restroom break, or would you like to continue and individually go once?
It's 10:45 right now. Yeah, you could break till 11.
Okay.
At 11.
We're going to take a 15-minute break, and we will come back. So at this time, we'll see you in 15 minutes. Everyone would kind of start moving back to their seats, please. All right, thank everyone. All right, at this time we'll reconvene. Up next will be Dick DiLorenzo. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. We're going to still hold up for a minute. I didn't realize some folks weren't in here yet. Yeah, we need them.
Oh, the minutes? Sure.
All right, if we would also, could we have the back door? Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, Dick DiLorenzo?
I believe he left.
He left, okay. Robert Roper? Morning.
Robert Roper, pastor, First Baptist Church of Alva. Amendment 4 is a mere 34 words, written purposely to deceive, carefully crafted by the best attorneys the ACLU and George Soros-backed organizations could afford. If you remove just the deceptive parts of the 34-word amendment, there's virtually nothing left. Let's review as many as we can in 3 minutes. The amendment claims to limit government. Truth is that it limits safe medical practices. Thankfully, there's a provision that an abortion must be administered by a, quote, healthcare provider. I've been a Florida certified EMT since the 70s. Do I qualify? It remains undefined purposely. The amendment touts that parents would be involved in the decision, but the amendment only requires notification. Notification is not consent. Imagine a child that calls her mom from a different city and says, "Hi, Mom, I'm at the abortion clinic, goodbye." This amendment would allow a 15-year-old, 9 months pregnant, to consent to a high-risk surgical abortion without parental consent. Have we lost our minds? At least it limits abortion to the purposes of the mother's health. More deception, and they know it. The mother's health is purposely not defined because what they have in mind, very few voters would approve. The courts have held that the mother's health can include almost anything: emotional, financial, or I would add, cheerleading tryouts next month. The amendment limits abortion to the point before viability. How is that defined? It's not. And the reason it's not defined is that few would vote for a full-term partial birth abortion of a minor child without parental consent. Viability is not a legal term, it's a medical term, and it changes every day. Even full-term, healthy baby born to grateful parents is not viable outside the womb without the care of those parents. Recent testimony from Capitol Hill: over the span of a year, one research institution paid middleman companies $42,535 to obtain 38 fetal brains, 12 fetal hearts, 3 fetal upper and lower limbs, 5 fetal livers, 12 fetal pancreases. The passage of Amendment 4 will turn our state into an abortion mill once folks realize there's money to be made with legalized abortion. Thank you.
Right. Up next is, and I'm probably going to butcher this, so please correct me when I get up. It looks like Silu Cetone? Sorry about that. Please correct me when you come up. Up after that will be Robert Reynolds. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Cielo Zenteno. I am a 23-year-old resident of the city of Fort Myers and have lived in Southwest Florida for the majority of my life. I come today representing individuals who were unable to attend, that are in complete disagreement and disappointment with this county board. I'm in support of Amendment 4 and disagreement with this resolution on the agenda. Don't be mistaken, I did not come here to change minds. I have my doubts that anything I say will be taken with much weight with this board. I stand before men who will never understand the fear, the excitement, the stress, the grief of becoming pregnant, being pregnant, or having a failed pregnancy. But here we are having this discussion. Even with what may be a decision to virtue signal with your disagreement on Amendment 4, I'm here to say that many of us are displeased, and you are not speaking for all of us if this resolution passes. The individuals you would be representing are those who are misguided by cycles of fear, anger, and self-righteous judgment, that cycle which you are currently perpetuating with your actions. You are representing a group of individuals who have said I should burn in hell. You are representing individuals who have made comments on my body when I went to my first pro-choice protest at 14. You are representing an ideology which allowed a grown man to rationalize pointing a knife at my face and spit out the words, "You will be next," at a pro-choice rally. That is who you're choosing to represent, by saying no as a county. Not me, not anyone here who is against this. If you find that people who are harassing young women are agreeing with you, you are not on the right side of things, but that is your choice. This resolution itself brings no dramatic benefit to our community as a whole, something in conflict with the purpose of your position. If I'm looking at this correctly, it seems to be another attempt at pandering to those engaged in a tireless culture war that only exists in Facebook echo chambers and MSM web pages. Congratulations on stirring the pot and rallying up the locals. I thought the job of commissioner was to ensure public safety, city planning, and lay out the budgeting for our county. I don't recall political agitation being on the agenda. Let the people decide in our election this year what they will vote for without your involvement. I can sit here all day and talk about why I'm pro-choice, but I can perfectly express my opinion in November. Unless you think the average voter is completely inept of doing their own research on a ballot issue, there should be no reason to alter its presentation. If you do not want an abortion as a medical procedure, you can either not get one, which all 5 of you cannot, or you can vote against it, which is your right. It is useless to claim the entirety of Lee County is against Amendment 4 when that is not true, and our ballots and numbers can speak for us plainly. My point is, stay out of it, keep your moral superiority out of it, and do your job as you're paid to do. Thank you.
Up next is Robert Reynolds, and followed by Rabbi Nicole Luna. If we could, to speed it up, the person up next, could you kind of move to the back of the room? That way we aren't waiting for people to come up every time. So, Robert?
Okay, thank you. This is the 4th time I've been here. I'm not going to spend very much time. I just want to applaud you on your draft resolution and ask that you pass it. I've heard a few things here today that astound me. We are a democracy. We are also a constitutional republic. And when a constitutional amendment is passed in a constitutional republic, it pretty much trumps existing law. And we have examples of that in states like Michigan and Kansas. Both of those states, one of them in particular, passed an amendment, Michigan, similar to Amendment 4 here in Florida. But Kansas failed to pass a protective pro-life amendment. And what has happened in Kansas after that decision? Clinic licensure was struck. There were limits on painful dismemberment abortions. They were struck. Doctor requirement was blocked. Informed consent blocked. 24-hour waiting period blocked. These are all things that exist in our statutes as well. Prop 3 in Michigan repealed a 1931 abortion ban, the clinic licensing law, health and safety standards, which is part of your responsibility to our county, the abortion reporting law, including complications, these were all repealed. The partial birth abortion law, repealed. The ban on advertising how-to guides for producing abortion drugs, repealed. The quick child law, the ban against late-term abortions, repealed. And then we know that as of June 27th of this year, the ACLU, on behalf of the YMCA of Kalamazoo, filed a lawsuit to force taxpayers to pay for other people's abortions through Medicaid. Okay, something that we have a law that we don't use taxpayer funds for abortions in Florida today. All of these things are happening as we speak in Michigan. So I think it's fair to say that that's going to happen here as well. So when we talk about existing legislation.
Thank you, Mr. Reynolds.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Rabbi Nicole Luna, and after that will be Michelle Escree. Good morning.
Gentlemen, I had the honor of opening up this session with an invocation from the Jewish tradition. And it is as a Jewish
Reset.
clergy person, as a rabbi.
I apologize. I need you to reset. Tom, thank you. I'm sorry. Please start. I'm sorry.
Gentlemen, I had the honor of opening up this session with an invocation from the Jewish tradition. And it is as a Jewish clergy person, a rabbi, that I speak to you now, urging you to vote no on this resolution. In Judaism, full access to safe and legal abortion is health care. Jewish law not only permits abortion in many cases, but also requires it when the life of the pregnant individual is at risk, both physically and at times psychologically. Life does not begin at conception under Jewish law. Jewish law does not consider a fetus to be a full being with a soul until it is born. This comes directly from the story of creation in Genesis, when life begins with breath. In Genesis 2:7, God blew the breath of life, and the human became a living being. In Jewish law, the first 40 days from conception, the fetus is mere fluid. This would correspond today to the first 7 to 8 weeks of pregnancy. The fetus is considered water. Following this period, the fetus is seen as a physical part of the pregnant individual's body. The fetus is not viewed as separate from a woman's body until the onset of labor and childbirth. I understand other religions have different understandings of personhood and when life begins. The United States Constitution supports the freedom of religion and demands that no one imposes a single religious viewpoint on all. Laws and regulations limiting access to abortion are at odds with our nation's founding principle of religious liberty and trample individual moral agency. In Judaism, full access to safe and legal abortion is health care. So again, I urge you against this resolution and to let pregnant individuals make these decisions with guidance from their physicians and their own religious traditions. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, up next is Michelle Eskrit. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. Next, after that will be Tara Jenner.
Good morning. My name is Michelle Eskrit. You got it close. Thank you for allowing me to share my concerns about Amendment 4, which would repeal the current heartbeat law, which protects common exceptions like rapes, incest, sex trafficking, health of the mother. Therefore, Amendment 4 pertains to the 97% elective abortions. Unlike other amendments, Amendment 4 has zero definitions for important words and key terms, dangerously leaving everything up to individual interpretation, as stated by the other side. If those definitions were originally provided, we would not be here asking for support to inform citizens. Amendment 4 would eliminate parental consent before a minor's abortion, replacing it only with a notification. I don't understand how we can allow a minor to have an abortion without the consent of her parents, who are held responsible for all other aspects of life. Additionally, Amendment 4 would allow late-term abortions past the point where science has proven that the unborn are capable of feeling pain. I was sickened as I watched videos of the commonly used D&E, dilation and evacuation abortion procedures. During the extraction, a sofa clamp, which looks like a tongs with teeth, is used to grasp body parts and remove them from the mother because the child is too large to squeeze through the birth canal. Then the skull is crushed before being extracted in pieces. It's unimaginable what a baby feels during this extremely gruesome procedure. I believe it is the responsibility of elected officials, including the Board of Commissioners, to educate your constituents about the dangers of this constitutional amendment because of its deceptive nature. Purposely written vaguely to make voters think it is in their best interest, when it only serves the interests of those who will profit from the sale of abortion drugs, abortion remains, and abortion parts. We need to educate voters, especially since so many still remain unaware of this amendment itself or the numerous detriments for our communities. You can help inform voters by passing a resolution to support Vote No on Amendment 4. Thank you very much.
All right, Tara Jenner, after that will be John Cuniff.
Good morning, Tara Jenner. I'm here today in my capacity as Vice Chair of the Lee County GOP, as well as my personal status. I just wanted to thank the County Commissioners for addressing this issue, and I would like to acknowledge the fact that the legal advisor did mention that it is very appropriate to use your public office to inform and edify the public about issues that are of importance. So I thank you all for that. I'd like to note that on February 10th, 2024, the Republican Party of Florida passed a resolution that actually gave recommendations and guidance on all 6 of the amendments that are coming up, because it is incumbent upon us to have those that are in elected office be aware and guide and give information to the public to help them become informed. It's my personal opinion that even people that are pro-choice should find this amendment objectionable because of the number of reasons that have already been mentioned. The least of which is the fact that something I've mentioned previously. Our Constitution here in the state of Florida is about 74 pages long, depending upon what font you use, and it includes protections for suckling pigs. It also includes safeguards that were instituted for greyhound racing dogs because they might be abused. We have statutes in the United States that protect the eggs of the eagles, and yet here we are talking about abortion of unborn children. And constitutions are supposed to be drafted specifically to define a limited, specific focus and function of our government. It is not intended to be used as a catch-all, free-for-all in order to lock people in when legislation can be done instead. And legislation is supposed to be done by our legislators who are duly elected on a cyclical basis so that we have the ability to have the laws wax and wane with the will and the intent and desires of the populace. So I'm going to encourage the Commission to approve this proposed resolution. Some of the things that I would like to point out, if passed, Amendment 4 may result in a taxpayer obligation to pay for abortions of those who can't afford it. And this flies directly in the face of the constitutionally guaranteed, protected, God-given rights of individuals to make sure that their money and their issues are addressed according to their faith-based. So I have a concern with that. Revenue of the state, however, can't be given to the church, but in this case, we can have revenue of the state be given to something that's contrary to the church. I heard somebody mention separation of church and state. That's only one way, not 2 ways. So anyway, I wanted to thank you all, and I look forward to hearing your decision.
All right, thank you. John Cuniff. Up next after that will be Dennis Eskrit.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. My name is John Cuniff. I am a citizen of Lee County, Bonita Springs. I ask you to vote in favor of the resolution against Amendment 4. You've heard from the pro-Amendment 4 side, telling you in previous meetings and here today that somehow this is none of the Commissioner's business. I appreciate the County Attorney's comments on that subject, and of course, everything on the November ballot is everyone's business. It's absurd to suggest otherwise. No, but why would they want to shut down any discussion or debate on this subject? Why would they want to gag you? The answer is simple. Amendment 4 is deceptive, and they don't want anyone recognizing that. They don't want the county commissioners warning the public of the deliberately hidden effects of Amendment 4, like the complete revocation of parental consent. They very craftily left parental notification in place, but that's not the same as parental consent, and it's worthless, and they know it. Their action, they say they want the government out of the abortion issue, but their actions speak much louder than words. And their actions, such as in Michigan, as Mr. Reynolds pointed out to you, where a similar amendment was passed last year, say otherwise. The ACLU recently went to court to have restrictions on Medicaid funding for elective abortions declared unconstitutional under their amendment. The same thing would happen here. if Amendment 4 passes. The fact is, they do want government involved in the abortion issue. They just want it involved on their side. Now, they cite Florida statutory law to provide definitions missing from the amendment. This ignores the fact that an amendment to the Constitution would supersede all statutory law in the state of Florida. I ask you to warn the people of Lee County of the deceptive nature of this amendment. Please provide the guidance and leadership that was asked for in the invocation today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, Dennis. After that will be Aaron Gardner.
Good morning. My name is Dennis Eskert, and I'm here to request the Lee County Commission to draft, adopt, and pass resolution to vote no on Amendment 4. Last month, I stood at the same podium and walked you through a real-life scenario of what would happen to your 16-year-old pregnant daughter if Amendment 4 were to pass. No parental consent. To me, that's very important. No consent for the parents would be required for your minor daughter to obtain an abortion. Only notification is required, which could be done before, during, or after the procedure. This, to me, is a blatant attack to separate our children from our parents. We, as parents, should not be required to relinquish our responsibility to make a serious decision as an abortion for our minor child. So, commissioners, please be strong, be bold, and do not waver. Draft, adopt, and pass resolution to vote no on Amendment 4. Thank you very much.
All right, Aaron Gardner, and next will be Cindy Ginsburg.
Good morning, Commissioners. Aaron Gardner. I come before you again exhorting you to vote in favor of the proposed resolution to warn Lee County residents of this dangerous amendment that is being put on our ballot this November. I'm exhorting you to speak against the insanity of the opposition that is not satisfied with the 40,500 babies that have already been murdered in Florida this year. Because of their unrestrained bloodlust, these radicals seek to have the unrestricted mass murder of babies all the way up to birth. A group that wants to see the government steal my rights as a parent to allow my child to go and murder their baby behind my back. I do not want my tax dollars going to facilitate the murder of babies in the state of Florida. There is no freedom in this amendment. There is only bondage and tyranny. Again, I have been hearing this narrative from the opposition that you have a duty to represent the view of everyone in Lee County. This is an utter fallacy, as you do not have the duty to represent the ideologies of the KKK, pedophiles, pimps, and baby murderers. These are basic moral atrocities. Sir William Blackstone, the great politician that influenced many of our founding fathers in their understanding of the law, said that no enactment of man can be considered law unless it conforms to the law of God. We used to understand this as a nation. We used to understand that our morality must come from a higher standard. Look where this has taken us. You have one side saying, I do not want to see Lee County residents deceived into voting for a law that is one of the most extreme abortion laws in the world. I don't want to see a free-for-all on babies that protects the rights to see them poisoned, to see them chemically burned to death, or to see babies ripped limb from limb with their little bodies torn to shreds, their intestines and organs ripped and sucked out of, and their heads ultimately crushed and discarded like trash. No, we want to see these persons receive their God-given opportunity to life. In contrast, you have another side who will lecture us on protecting unborn babies. That was their words and their recognition of personhood, trying to force you to attack people who they believe are poisoning waters, then 45 minutes later tell you it's outside your purview to be concerned about unborn babies that will be tortured to death. You have a radical side that, again, is not satisfied with these 40,000 babies that have been killed this year because they want to see the death of babies all the way up to 9 months. And if you don't, they're going to burn their bras. You have them equating boners to the life of a child. You have them saying that we need to mutilate 12-year-old boys and force vasectomies if they don't get to murder children. You have them saying that you need to avoid this because women will be raped. We have laws protecting women that are raped, but we don't say that because rape will happen, let's make rape legal and safe for the rapist. We don't say pedophilia will happen, so let's make it safe and legal for the child molester. I'm running out of time, so I would just ask that you vote in favor of the proposed resolution. Thank you.
Cindy Ginsburg, and next up after that will be Leanne Nesbitt.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Cindy Ginsburg, and I'm here to say thumbs down on your resolution this morning. Why do this, Commissioners? It's very uncharacteristic, I believe, for a Board of County Commissioners to make a statement against a woman's right to choose. Just vote like the rest of us. There's no need for a resolution like this. It seems like you're trying to manipulate voters. Just encourage voters to study this and other ballot initiatives and carefully make informed voting decisions. Must we copy Collier County? I don't think so. We're not Collier County. There are a lot of differences. Just consider those differences. We have, I think, a lot more voters here who would be willing to vote commissioners out if this resolution passes. Now, the Florida Supreme Court said, and I'm paraphrasing, in the end, this ballot initiative, in the end, the ballot title and summary fairly inform voters in clear, unambiguous language. The ballot summary is accurate, objective, and neutral. If you think you know better than the Supreme Court, go for it. Clearly, the Florida Supreme Court has greater confidence in the intelligence, understanding, and reasoning of voters in this county. Please stick to county business and stay out of women's rights. We will not go back. Thank you.
All right, up next is Leanne Nesbitt and Jenny Seehaver will follow.
Good morning. Thank you. My name is Leanne Nesbitt. I would like to address your view that the passage of Amendment 4 may be detrimental to the people in Florida by citing an example of life, personal life, without the ability for an abortion. In 1967, almost 60 years ago, I was a sophomore at Ohio State University, attending as an out-of-state student from New Jersey. I was 19, living in a dorm, and pregnant. At the time, I was unable to get any birth control. Abortion was illegal. I had a friend who had a botched, illegal abortion. She's now sterile and has never been able to have children. I was not taking that route. That was my choice, my only choice. My parents rejected all support, financial, emotional. I got married. I took student loans. I went into debt. I paid $5 a month to the Ohio State University Hospital until my delivery hospital stay was paid. My ongoing health plan was the Ohio State Walk-In Clinic. This is not a situation that was is this not a situation that was detrimental to my health, mentally, if not physically? And I would like to add one more thing. It's on here, and I thank you to the rabbi for preceding me, but I am Jewish. And I'll repeat that the Torah, the Talmud, and later rabbi sources consider the women's physical and emotional health before that of the fetus. Judaism considers the fetus to be part of the woman's body. She is never the villain when difficult choices need to be made. And this is my view on women's health, and please do not influence the vote. I worked so hard personally to get Amendment 4 on the ballot. Thank you.
Okay, Jeanne Seahaver? Correct me, I'm sorry. Kelly Reeves will be next.
Good morning, gentlemen. My name is Jean Seahaber, and I have been a resident of Lee County for 36 years. As citizens of the United States and residents of the state of Florida, you will go to the polls in November and cast your vote with regard to Amendment 4. Surely the County Commission understands that a statewide initiative is really not your purview. Issues of local roads, bridges, development, industry, tourism, and our precious environment are your business. And as all of my friends know, I'm going to say this in the kindest possible way. I would like to remind you that the mothers, the grandmothers, the aunts, the sisters, the women, yes, the voters of Lee County are going to be watching. Thank you.
Okay, Kelly Reeves.
Thank you.
And after that will be Julie Millen.
Hello, my name is Kelly Reeves. I stand before you today to ask that you pass a resolution against Amendment 4. Amendment 4 would allow abortion for any reason up until viability. What age is viability considered? We don't know. It is not defined in this amendment. Is it 24 weeks? Is it full term? So if we don't know when viability is, who will make that decision? A healthcare provider? A healthcare provider is defined as any physician, hospital, or other institution, organization, or person that furnishes healthcare services and is licensed or otherwise authorized to practice in the state. So in essence, a dentist, a chiropractor, a physical therapist, etc., could deem that you need an abortion. This also opens up the opportunity for abortion clinics to deem the fetus at any stage of pregnancy as not viable. This is a slippery slope that we must not go down. You are here for all Lee County citizens, that is true. But the citizens of Lee County elected you to do what is morally right. To not warn your citizens about this badly worded amendment would be wrong. Please consider a resolution against Amendment 4 to show Lee County citizens that you stand against abortion on demand, because that is what this is. Thank you for your time.
Okay, Julie Millen. And after that will be Jason Russo.
Good morning, commissioners. And my name is Julie Millam, and I'm a resident of Lee County. I'm here representing myself. And as I testified before, my dad was a married man. My mom was his secretary. And so I was born in 1962, and my mother gave away 4 children, and I was the last of the 4 children. Now, if I would have been born even 10, 20 years later, I probably would have been an abortion. So I'm grateful to my mom. And she also blessed my parents, my adopted parents, with a baby. And here I am. And here's the thing, when you kill a baby, you kill their generations. I have 4 grandchildren, and 3 of them are aspiring to be a doctor like their father. And I think they're going to contribute to society. So when you kill a baby, you're not only killing the baby, but you're killing their generations, just to be clear. I hear women say, it's my body, my choice. Well, it is your body, but you did have a choice. And the other thing is that you don't have a choice for the baby, because that baby is not your body, it's his own body or her own body. And I lobbied in Washington, D.C. on the Born Alive Infants Act, and back in 98, or it was a 2000 session, I can't remember which one. But back then, everybody voted against it, almost, because you'd have been a monster to think it would be okay to kill a baby at the time when it is alive and going to be born. If you walk down the street today and you ask people and you see a pregnant woman, should you be allowed to kill that baby? They'd all say no. So I don't understand, all this, craziness. I was listening to, or I was watching on TV and yesterday in Cape Coral, a man It's very sad. There was a bunch of ducklings that were running out in the road, and a lady stopped to get the traffic to stop, to let the little ducklings go across the road, and some guy plowed them over. And while that's super sad, people lost their minds over ducklings, and rightly so. I mean, it was a terrible thing. But here we're talking about a human being. And we all know right from wrong. And the Old Testament is very clear, thou shalt not murder. That means to lie in wait and premeditate. That de facto is what we're talking about here. So thank you. And it's just too bad that you men have to remind people that killing an innocent child is murder. So thank you for even taking this up, and you have the right to make a decision, and we hope you make the right one. Thank you.
All right, Jason Russo and Linda Russell will be after that.
Mr. Chairman and members of the board, my name is Jason Russo. I'm an elder at Trinity Reformed Church in Cape Coral, bondservant of the Lord Jesus Christ, saved by his grace according to the good pleasure of his will. I come before you today thankful for the opportunity to speak on this very important issue and in submission to the authority that the Lord has appointed in our county. Scripture says, you shall not murder. Scripture also says, lying lips, diverse weights and measures are an abomination to God. And that's in the Old Testament. Whether we believe the Bible or not, the law of God is written on all of our hearts. We all know that murder and lying is wrong. Even our founding fathers of this nation recognized this in saying we hold these truths to be self-evident. And what truths are those? That all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. If this amendment passes in the state of Florida, we are denying that right to the life of millions of preborn image bearers of God who are precious in His sight. Amendment 4 states, no law shall prohibit, penalize, delay, or restrict abortion before viability or when necessary to protect the patient's health as determined by the patient's health care provider. This is deceptive language. Viability is not clearly defined. Who decides who is viable? My father has dementia and requires assistance in eating, dressing, and showering. Is my dad viable? Deceptive language is patient's health. That's not defined. And as was stated many times, this could simply mean that the pregnant woman is depressed, she's anxious, she's poor, and the only logical conclusion they'd come to is that we must kill their child to protect her health. And I submit to you that pregnancy is not an illness, so these young women are not sick. It's deceptive to call them patients. Healthcare provider, again, this has been stated, could mean anyone in the building. And since Planned Parenthood is the main source of, Planned Parenthood's main source of income is abortion, it's highly likely that this provider will do everything they can to convince these mothers that abortion is the best option for them. Doctors are supposed to help save and preserve life, not take life. Therefore, abortion cannot be health care. I've been to 2 meetings so far, and the other side's position is that it's no one's business and you need to stay out of this matter and just accept it. Be quiet. They talk about misinformation on their side, that we've been giving misinformation, but they don't provide any evidence of that misinformation, what it actually is. We've demonstrated by these opening sentences that this is clear misinformation in this abomination of an amendment. I'm running out of time, it seems, but when a nation no longer fears the Lord and abandons Him as the foundation, it leads to death.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Linda Russell. After that will be Gail Markham.
Good morning, Commissioners. By definition, laid out in the Florida statutes, I'm Linda Russell, which I think you know. By definition, laid out in the Florida statutes, county commissioners do not have any say in state constitution amendments or medical care. Your role is to govern local infrastructure, set millage rates, regulate and ensure local safety, and otherwise manage county business. A resolution against the amendment to limit government interference with abortion is largely symbolic. But to residents like me, it's deeply offensive. Amendment 4's ballot summary states, "No law shall prohibit, penalize, delay, or restrict abortion before viability or when necessary to protect the patient's health as determined by the patient's health care provider." It does not remove parental consent for minors, nor allow abortions performed by non-doctors, nor require state funds for abortion. 5 men on an elected county board that have no medical experience are not entitled to make any resolutions about my body. Are any of you doctors? No. This is not your area of expertise. It's not appropriate that 5 men make a decision expressing the opinion of the county on a woman's health issue. This is a health care decision between a woman and her doctor, and politicians shouldn't be involved. I don't think you're the appropriate people to make that decision. The residents of Lee County deserve the right to vote on Amendment 4 and determine the direction our state should take toward women's rights over their own bodies. As commissioners, your role is to promote civic participation, not eliminate it. Please vote no on your resolution. Amendment 4 should be decided by Florida voters. Thank you for your attention.
Gail Markham. Up next after that will be Stephen Hanna.
Gentlemen, for the record, Gail Markham, CPA, Florida native, Lee County resident for 50 years, and a registered Republican at that. You know, my story is not a pretty one. And it's really hard for me to even tell you my story. It's very still, 73 years old, I'm still very emotional. My childhood was an ugly one. I am a victim of incest. My father sexually abused me from the time I was 4 years old till I was 14, when my parents finally got divorced and we were able to escape his wrath. I am a very resilient individual. I made a point of not living that life as an adult. I sought and received full scholarships to go off to the University of Florida and never looked back. I've had a very successful life and a happy life because I chose not to live a life as a victim. As part of that success, I've made a great deal of effort to give back to this community. I founded the PACE Center for Girls almost 18 years ago. These are girls from 11 to 18 years old that have all been abused, abandoned, or neglected. Their stories are very much like mine. It's really interesting that I was able to do this because I've healed so much from that. What I found is I was not alone. There are many of us. We just don't talk about it. We're full of shame. It's a secret. It's a family secret. That's the way it was treated in my family. But what I found from talking to these girls, many of them are victimized by sexual abuse. In fact, in 2000, we've had over 1,000 girls go through PACE right here in Lee County. And just this year, we've had over 100 girls enrolled, and 38% of these girls have admitted to being sexually abused right here in Lee County this year. It's not going away. We need to address that. So what I'm asking you to do is to remember a few things. Number one, if I were to become impregnated by my father when I was 12 years old, first of all, I'm not even sure that I would have known what a pregnancy would be in my body, carrying a baby at 6 weeks. Not only that, my father threatened to kill me if I ever told anybody. So I couldn't even go and tell somebody and get help. So if I was carrying this baby at 12 weeks under the way it is now, does that mean that I could even get an abortion, or would I have a lifetime sentence of carrying my father's child? I wouldn't have the life that I have right now if that would have happened to me. Thank you very much. I'm asking you, please stay out of this. It's our business. Let the voters decide. Thank you.
Stephen Hanna, and after that will be Guy Matthew.
Hello, Commissioners. I'm Stephen Hannon. I live here in Fort Myers. I'm retired now, but for 35 years, I practiced medicine here in Lee County. So I'm opposed to Amendment 4, and I'm very grateful for your proposing this resolution to also oppose Amendment 4. I think you've correctly pointed out that the language here is vague and deceptive. It will almost certainly lead to more late-term abortions. And I think no matter what side of the debate you're on, or what your religious affiliation is, or even what your idea of personhood is, I think the vast majority of us really cringe at the idea of a late-term, painful abortion. I think we all cringe at the idea of a lack of formal parental consent if our teenage daughters seek an abortion. These are grave injustices, and these will be made worse if this amendment passes. So thank you.
All right, Guy, and up next, and after that will be Julie McDonald.
Guy Matthew from Estero. I'm honored and feel privileged to be able to speak to you today. Thank you for the opportunity. I come as a confused old man to talk to you, because Saturday there was a letter in the letter to the editor in the newspaper, and also some of it mentioned again today, that it's an overreach for the commission to speak on this issue. They want to suppress your informed decision in council. Yet several weeks ago when I was here, the board was asked to make a decision and to contemplate the future of the Lee health system. Is that not health care? Don't you have some responsibility for health care in Lee County? They want to suppress your voice to speak, but yet they accept tens of millions of dollars from out-of-state people to influence our Constitution. Many of these people from out of state are contributing $5 million a pop. They will have more influence than you if you remain silent. Okay. Also, they said that the current law requires a physician, but the proposed amendment specifically states there shall be no law that restricts. That eliminates any attempt to enforce the current statutes. So the current law will have to conform to the Constitution. It doesn't work the other way around. Basic civics. Words matter. Why would they change the word from consent to notification? Why would they change the word from physician to healthcare provider? Again, words matter. There's a consequence to that. Late-term abortion after a child has a heartbeat and can feel pain is extreme. And that's my basic objection to this amendment. It's an extreme amendment. They have misrepresented some of the basic facts on this, and as a result of that, I think it requires the board to speak up, to educate the voters so that they can make an informed decision on November the 4th. Okay, this is not the time for ambiguity and apathy. This is the time for clarity, conviction, and courage. President Kennedy wrote a Pulitzer Prize-winning book called Profiles in Courage. Okay, this is your test. This is your time to display your courage. If not you, who? If not now, when? Please approve your resolution to oppose Amendment 4. Thank you.
Thank you. Julie McDonald and Andrew Tilton will be next.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I think it's still morning. My name is Julie McDonald. I moved to Fort Myers 25 years ago. I want to thank you for putting this important resolution on your agenda today for consideration, and I vehemently urge you to approve this resolution to oppose Amendment 4 today. I'm a poster board of woman, And as a Christian, I now know that life begins at conception. Amendment 4 is obviously bad for children because abortion kills them. Amendment 4 is bad for women because it deeply wounds them, as I have attested to previously at the last 2 meetings as a post-abortive woman. Amendment 4 is also bad for our community because it teaches our citizenry that our citizenry are expendable rather than important members of society here in Lee County. Abortion is not a so-called reproductive right, as this bad amendment would have you think. Women today already have the total freedom to reproduce as they see fit, and that has to be with men. So men are part of this equation. I don't know why, it's just the women. Men are important in this equation. As at the point of abortion, reproduction has already occurred. Abortion only kills an innocent human being, and that's called murder. The total reported cases of abortions in the state of Florida for 2023 were 84,052. That's only the reported cases. That's 84,052 unborn Florida residents that were either chemically poisoned by abortion pills or literally ripped to pieces by an abortionist last year alone. To put it in perspective, 1 Florida baby is exterminated every 6 minutes around the clock. That's why I'm here, to stand up for the voiceless. Those innocent lives matter. They cannot be here today to stand up for themselves and speak to you. In Luke 23:34, Jesus said, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." For those women like me that chose abortion or have suffered the consequences of aborting a child, there is hope. I lead the Surrendering the Secret Bible study here in Lee County to help post-abortive women release this burden and help each hurting woman find her personal path to healing through God's word. In Deuteronomy 30:19, God said, "Today I have given you the choice between life and death, between blessing and curses. Now I call on heaven and earth to witness the choice you make. Oh, that you would choose life so that you and your descendants might live. I pray that you, the elected Lee County Commissioners, choose life. Make a choice that honors the women and children of Lee County, and please approve this resolution in opposition of Amendment 4. Please don't let them New York or Florida. Thank you, and God bless you."
Okay, Andrew Tilton and Father Greg Daugherty. I'm sorry, I don't know. Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen, and thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. I've spoken to this group many times through the years, but none as important an item as this. Proposed Amendment 4 to the state constitution is written to repeal the progress that we've made over the last 30, 40 years in trying to protect some of the most innocent people that we know, and that's our unborn children. Why would we want to now enshrine death into our state constitution? I don't understand that. Some things I'd like to read that say it better than I can. The first two are I'm speaking for the unborn. Out of Psalm 43, "Vindicate me, O God, and plead my cause because against an ungodly nation. Rescue me from deceitful and wicked men. You are my God, my stronghold. Why have you rejected me? Why must I go mourning, oppressed by the enemy? Send forth your light and your truth. Let them guide me. Let them bring to your holy mountain, to the place where you dwell. Then I will go to the altar of God, to my joy and delight. I will praise you with my harp, O God." In Psalm 139:13-16, it says, "For you have created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful, I know that full well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in the secret place, when I was woven together in the depths of the earth. Your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be." And from Mike Singletary, and some of you may know him as a former football player with Chicago Bears, he said, is this society so far gone that it's hopeless? Have we abandoned our role model responsibilities for so long that we cannot change? I don't think so. Each of us can change our own little world. Fathers who are honest with themselves must admit they've made mistakes. We've all made bad decisions. I would encourage you to vote for this resolution. Also, I'd like to say that I have a daughter who got pregnant before she got married. She chose to have her son. He and his wife just had a son, and I now have a great-grandson because somebody didn't choose abortion, and I'm very thankful. Thank you, gentlemen.
All right, Father, after that will be Denny Sharma.
Chairman, Commissioners, Father Greg Doherty. I am a resident here in Lee County, and I'm here as a resident. And it seems to me that we're talking about truth, and that is what we're looking at when we look at this issue of Amendment 4, and how does it affect the people of Lee County. And so, indeed, I think you do have a very important say here. And I respectfully ask that you pass this resolution to say no to Amendment 4. And I've heard a lot today in the testimonies, and I hear a lot of pain and deep, deep hurt. There's no question that abortion affects us all, both men and women, but especially the child. And so my prayer and my hope for the residents here in Lee County, there can be healing in this. And the only way that I know that we can do that as Americans is go back to our founding principles. And I heard it quoted just a moment ago. When we look at the truths of the Declaration of Independence, where we recognize that all men are created equal, that we've been endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Those unalienable rights, by definition, are rights that are given to us by God and God alone, not from the state. So for all of us here, I would like to ask the question, if we still hold these truths to be self-evident as Americans, when is it God's will for a person to destroy the life that He created? If we cannot answer that question, we must say no to Amendment 4 and speak boldly to that truth. And in doing so, the effect of the Declaration of Independence was to unite a nation. And look what happened. We can do that today and bring healing and truly, truly be great once again.
Thank you, Father. Denise Sharman, and after that will be Jacob Kolak.
Thank you, Commissioners, for providing the opportunity to speak to you today. My name is Denny Sharma. I've been a resident of Lee County since July 1, 1977. I've been a registered Republican since 1982. It's the party that I loved because they believed in freedom and they don't like regulations. We don't want more regulations in our lives. So this resolution dealing with health issues is not what we, you as a commissioners, are supposed to do at a local level. I think I appreciate Commissioner Greenwell and your sports accomplishments, fantastic, and all of you doing great work to help protect our environment. Lately, today you just passed a resolution to clean up the lake park. I think it will be good for you to focus on what you are good at, like land use planning and implementing the rules that are there, addressing transportation and congestions that we have everywhere. I live in Daniels Parkway corridor, and if you go any time of the day, you have to wait for 3 lights to pass. Very difficult. Water supply and water quality. You have heard about low water pressure and Tree Line Boulevard and all that area. I know you are involved in budgeting, taxes. I think that's where you're good at. This Amendment 4 is designed for people to decide on their own. I am neither pro-abortion or pro-choice. I believe in freedom of people to decide, especially in this case, the women's right to choose whether they want to do it, like whether they want to have abortion under certain circumstances or they want not have abortion. And when the state of Florida passed this draconian law, that's how this Amendment 4 is coming from the grassroots. And people are not so happy about that. So I will request that you not adopt your resolution today. Thank you so much.
Okay, Jacob Golak, and after that will be Jill Pellis.
Hello, good evening now, Commissioners. My name is Jacob Kolak. I'm 23, and I was born and raised in Cape Coral. I've heard a lot of back and forth today whether or not it's your responsibility to pass this resolution to speak on behalf of your constituents, but let's just say for the sake of argument, it is your responsibility. How would you know it's what your constituents want? Just because they voted for you, for your party? If that's the case, then it's not that simple. I've heard a few people say this is a deeply politicized issue, but that's just not the truth. I'm a poll guy, so excuse me for dropping a lot of percentages, but let me say polling in this state has and still shows that this issue goes beyond party lines. According to a poll from University of North Florida's Public Opinion Research Lab, 69% of respondents said they would vote for Amendment 4. 69%, that is not a partisan, that is a consensus. When I see so many people here asking you to pass this resolution, I know it's not because they are a majority, but rather because they are a minority who cannot win without outside influence. A lot of speakers have brought up how rape should, even when someone is raped, abortion should not be allowed. That is a deeply unpopular opinion. According to Gallup, only 12% of the American population believe abortion should be illegal in all circumstances. Allow me to quote President Trump. I think 6 weeks is too short. It has to be more time. I'm going to be voting that we need more than 6 weeks, end quote. And across the aisle, Vice President Kamala Harris is in the state right now campaigning for abortion rights. And most importantly, upwards of 60% of Floridians support the amendment. It doesn't seem like a partisan issue to me. So I'd just like to ask you to keep this in mind when making your decision. You will not be speaking on behalf of the people who voted you into office if you do choose to pass this resolution, but you'd be voting with a fringe group of desperate voters. Let them have their voices heard in November along with everyone else without political theater, and thank you.
All right, Jill Pellis, and after that will be Debbie Healy.
Commissioner, today's discussion really is not about pro-abortion or anti-abortion. It's a matter of the right of every resident in Lee County to vote his or her conscience on Amendment 4 and determine the direction our county is going to take. As a commissioner, your role is to promote civic participation, not eliminate it. By resolving to oppose Amendment 4, you're essentially stripping away my right and the right of each and every voter in this county. Fringe extremists want you to oppose Amendment 4, which limits government interference with abortion. However, the commissioner's responsibilities do not include supporting the political agenda of a small fringe group of vocal people. I implore you to let the voters determine the result. Do not interfere with the democratic process. Your role is to protect our right to voice opinions and vote on issues, not restrict us. Thank you.
Okay.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Debbie Healy. I'm a Lee County resident, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart for your patience with dealing with this resolution. And I hope that you hear on my heart how I feel. I am a registered nurse, and we are asking you today to support the resolution recommending no on Amendment 4. Over the past several weeks, you all have heard the trauma, the emotional distress, the tragedy that women, girls, daughters, and even the expected fathers have gone through at the risk of abortion. This is a health and safety issue, and I can tell you right now, we already know the consequences. It's coming out of Michigan. We don't have to guess what Amendment 4 is going to do. We see where they are closing down the clinics from a sanitary standpoint. No license. Nobody can go into those clinics now and check for sterilization equipment. The Board of Health cannot go into those clinics because no law can stop abortions in any way. And we see it happening in Kansas and Michigan, so we know what this amendment is going to do. It is not helpful for our residents. It is harmful. And I will tell you, the only one that's going to be protected with this amendment are the abortionists. And it is clear in this amendment that abortionist does not need to be a medical doctor. That if they wanted it to be a medical doctor, they would have said medical doctor, not health care provider. So when you're looking at that abortionist, this is someone who can go in causing damage to these girls, hemorrhaging, internal injuries, and there will be no law. That abortionist will have no accountability for what he's doing to those women and those girls. And that's why it's such a severe safety issue to these women. From a fiscal standpoint, we already know the state of Michigan. The state of Michigan is suing the residents, the taxpayers, to pay for these abortions. We know what's going to happen. I'm asking you from a health and safety perspective, from the financial fiscal implications, please support this resolution. All you're doing, it's non-binding, but you're letting residents know, hey, you may need to take a look at this language. Make sure you understand what you're voting for. And that's what I'm asking for, to please support this resolution. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I have a couple cards left, it looks like. Steve Maxwell, do you wish to speak on this item? After that, looks like Eric Nahaper Jr. You correct me when you come up if you're speaking on this item.
Good morning. My name is Steve Maxwell, for the record. All I can say is, wow. A lot has been said today. And good on both sides of the issue. But I think in order to make it a little more easier to understand what the will of the county commission is, you have a right to pass a resolution. It's the will of the county commission. It does not bind anyone to prevent them from voting one way or the other on the issue. And I don't think it influences that much in any way as to whether, if in my instance, I think the way that Amendment 4 was written is horrible. For all the points that have been raised to you, and I don't need to repeat it. It's horrible in a way, and I think the nurse that stood up to you and talked about the health, safety, and welfare implications is self-evident. You are reflecting the will of each and every one of you as a county commissioner whom we may or may not have voted for. It doesn't preclude you from doing it. And I don't believe it casts any aspersions on those who have had to unfortunately go through horrific experiences, either from outside the home or inside the home. So in this instance, you're going to have to show your profile of courage today. And that's going to be truly, I would say, illuminating for you as an individual and for us as a county. You know, Roe v. Wade is not going away. What's happened with it, it's become a yarn ball that's been rolled around, re-rolled, and made so tight that a lot of people can't quite understand it and who it will affect. So with that being said, I support the resolution in the sense that, you know, you give resolutions for all kinds of things. And it's not so much tightly boxed into one particular point as to infrastructure, planning, tax policy. You give a resolution if someone's named the most valuable player of a sports team that happens to be a homegrown hero. And I remember that day. So be courageous. Don't waver. Collier County appears to be legally sufficient, but I haven't seen it in the 20th Judicial Circuit courthouse yet being challenged. So I thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. Eric? Pronounce your last name for me, Eric, when you come up, if you would, please.
I came unprepared today, but I just want to say that I believe a woman has a right to make her own choice, and it should be on the ballot that they could make their own choice. Everybody's going to make their own choice. It seems about 70% of the people agree that abortion is, there's so many issues that are involving. You have the assault from rape, and that's not even considered. The issue of the assault and victimization of incest. You have also, you have complications with pregnancy. And no one even mentioned if the fetus is deformed or there's something wrong with the fetus. And then also, there's no mention of like if miscarriage. And that's a terrible thing for a woman to go through. You guys don't know anything about it. I don't know anything about it. Miscarriage it's like a miscarriage of justice, because the woman, you think, or a girl, you think what they're thinking when they have all these decisions, and then everything is up to them to think about everything that's going to happen. They have to think about all the responsibilities, and I hear all these people talking about, you know, oh, it's the right of the people, and or it's not the right of the people. That the government should tell them what to do. That's really, you know, there is no separation of church and state in that state, in that concept. I just believe that a woman has a right to make up her own mind, because it's freedom. That's what this country is about, freedom. And if you don't allow people to speak their mind, what good is it to have the Constitution? You might as well just rip it up. It doesn't matter what people say then. I just believe that the things that have been said today, some of them are just ridiculous. But I mean, and in fact, in the Bible, it is nowhere anything about abortion in the Bible. There is nothing about abortion in the Bible except what the rabbi did say in Genesis. That is the breath of life when they're born. And you know, there's no considerations for all the other things as well. Like I mentioned, miscarriage and things like that nature. And then you're going to make a doctor responsible. A doctor's trying to help someone and keep them from harm. And they're talking about, oh yeah, it's verbiage and a healthcare provider. You guys, whoever they were saying that everybody in here is a health professional or something like that. That's not true. And they're just cherry picking their ideas. And it's just ridiculous that the cherry picking is so extreme. And there is no one that's going to that's a really embarrassment for people to say that women are going to have an abortion at 9 months. Really? Is that really true? I don't think so.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you for hearing me.
Yep. Okay, at this time, that That completes all the cards. Did I miss anyone's name? Okay. Come on up, speak.
Candidates.
And state your name, please.
Pleasant good day to all under the sound of my voice. Thank you. And to all in your respectful places. My name is Joanne M. Thomas Joseph. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. I'm not here to ask you how to think or how to vote. What I'm here to do is I'd like to lead with a quote and also a scripture. The scripture would be for today, 1 Corinthians 3:16. Look it up. Our bodies are the temple of the Holy Spirit. And that's what we should be thinking of. What are we doing with our bodies? I have been known and been called the poster child for all things government, and all things church. I take no offense. I love that. I am here representing people, individuals, family, friends, businesses, and human life. I am not here to tell you again how to think or how to vote. However, I ask you, as our leaders, to please consider how this legislation will positively or adversely affect pregnancy, for government aid and organ donations, plasma, and to help save lives. I am asking you to allow your conscience to be your guide as you advocate to ask people how to decide when we go to the voting polls. Please consider let your conscience be your guide, and please consider, I'm sorry, I'm blind a little bit, how it will affect us as constituents. I thank you also very much. I appreciate you, and I thank you for what you're doing for us, and have a blessed day.
Okay, would anyone else wish to speak? Please state your name when you come up. Yeah, sure. Let her go on by. Thanks.
My name is John Patrick Christensen. I support the resolution which opposes Amendment 4. It's been asserted here, and I'll try not to get personal, of course, but it has been asserted here that the Bible does not say anything about abortion. So I wanted to say a few things here that the Bible said. First of all, in Genesis 1, verse 28, God blessed them and said to them, "Be fruitful and increase in number. Fill the earth and subdue it. Rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky and over every living creature that moves on the ground." That was Genesis 1:1. Also, after the flood, God more or less repeats that. He says in Genesis 9, verse 7, "As for you, be fruitful and increase in number. Multiply on the earth and increase upon it." And also, let me read verse 6, which is just before that, of course. "Whoever sheds human blood, by humans shall their blood be shed. For in the image of God has God made mankind." So the fetus does have blood in it, and that blood does get shed. That would contradict the assertion of many here that the Bible doesn't say anything about abortion. Also, I wanted to get to, excuse me, Psalm 139, verse 13. "For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well." This is verse 15. I've said verse 14 before. "My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in the secret place, when I was woven together in the depths of the earth. Verse 16, your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be. So, to just emphasize the point that this does indeed say that the fetus is a human being, remember it says, for you created my inmost being, you knit me together in my mother's womb. Who did God knit together? He knit together the psalmist, not some part of the mother's body. The psalmist was knit together. And I'm seeing I'm almost out of time, so thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay. Who else would like to speak? Come up, state your name, please.
Hello, gentlemen. My name is Susan Lynn Keating. I come to you today to present myself as a resident of Lee County, as a woman of Lee County. Last year, and I'll keep this short because I would like to respect your time as well as everybody else in here. Last year, I fell pregnant. At 4 weeks, I was notified. I had no idea. I was struggling to pay rent at this time. I was working 3 jobs just to try to keep a roof over my head and the lights on. That being said, I found out at 4 weeks. I was faced with a very difficult decision of whether I would keep the baby or terminate the pregnancy. After consulting my healthcare providers, which was a nurse care practitioner as opposed to a medical doctor, as well as being psychoanalyzed by my therapist and my psychiatrist, we determined that the risks to my health were far too severe to carry the pregnancy to term. I have polyps and as well as many, many rare conditions in my ovaries that resulted in me having a hysterectomy very shortly after my pregnancy. My baby died. The blood that occurred while I was waiting to decide what I should do was gruesome. People are quoting images of disgusting pulling babies out of bodies. What about when my baby fell out of mine, taking away my choice? I want to talk about how you should stay out of this decision, how you should not resolve to oppose Amendment 4. Because people should have the right to consult with their healthcare providers about what is best for them. What was best for me was to terminate the pregnancy, but I still wanted to keep it. I was going to keep it, and the choice was taken out of my hands. But the doctors knew best. My healthcare provider knew what was best for me. I wasn't going to be able to carry that baby to term. The training that they received was enough to let them know that that baby would not have made it and would have been severely deformed if it was born. So I urge you to respect people's healthcare providers. None of you have medical degrees. All of you are very, very good for the community in making decisions as well as land care, and I very much appreciate the fact that you guys are looking for our environment, cleaning up Lakes Park. Those are very big things. But let's trust the doctors in order to make decisions for the patients. The man who I became pregnant with was not going to help me. I was going to be all by myself, a single mother, starting nursing school, with a baby that would have been severely deformed. What about me? What about my life? What about the fact that I would have been financially responsible? Let's think about those things, and let's trust our doctors, and let's trust our people to make their own decisions. So I oppose your resolution opposing Amendment 4. Thank you so much for your time.
Okay, who else would like to speak?
Good afternoon. My name is Alexa. I came here before you today to oppose Amendment 4. I also came before you today to propose more than what I've seen this morning, and that is a lack of facts. I bring you a couple of tidbits from the Pew Research Center. The first question being, when during pregnancy do most abortions occur? The vast majority of abortions occur during the first trimester of a pregnancy. In 2021, 93% of abortions occurred during the first trimester, that is, or at before 13 weeks of gestation. Gestation, by the way, mind you, nobody knows exactly when occurs, when exactly gestation starts. According to the CDC, an additional 6% of abortions occurred between 14 and 20 weeks of pregnancy, and about 1% were performed at 21 weeks or more of gestation. These CDC figures include data from 40 states and New York City, but not the entire state of New York. The Gutmaker Institute also estimates that in 2023, medication was used for almost 2/3 of all abortions. Dilation and evacuation procedures account for less than 1% of all abortions performed in the United States, according to the CDC. I think additional meddling with the abortion amendment is entirely unnecessary, especially when considering how near impossible basic medicative abortion access is to obtain in states like Florida, where after 6 weeks, they shut the door on your life. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else wish to speak?
Hello, my name is Raina LaCroix, and I am a Lee County resident. And I would like to thank the board for giving everyone an opportunity.
If it's okay, could I ask you to speak up a little?
Oh.
Yeah, you're very difficult to hear.
Oh, not a
Yes,
problem.
please.
Sorry
Thank
about
you.
that.
Thank you.
Just to reiterate, my name is Raina LaCroix. I'm a Lee County resident, and I just wanted to thank the board for taking the opportunity to hear everybody voice their opinion and concerns. I trust the Bible because I know that the Word of God is true and that it is right. So I'd like to share the Word of God in Proverbs 13, verse 14. The Word of God says that the law of the wise is a fountain of life, to turn one away from the snares of death, to turn one away from the destruction of a human being that cannot defend himself or herself in the womb, to turn a mother away from suffering with the memory of choosing to destroy her child, to turn one away from the condemnation of murder. Again, Proverbs 13, verse 14 says that the law of the wise is a fountain of life, to turn one away from the snares of death. I beseech you, board, to please be a fountain of life and to make a stand to preserve life and to save life. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wish to speak at this time? Did you already speak?
No, that would be my brother.
I'm sorry.
We look a lot alike.
I was
Yes,
going to
sir.
say, you know.
And we're wearing the same shirt.
I
It does help.
apologize. Go ahead.
Yes, sir.
Me too.
My name is Parker Gardner. I live and work in the Estero area, and I'm not a great speaker, so I have to rely on men who are. But Dietrich Bonhoeffer, the civil rights activist in Nazi Germany, said, "We are not to simply bandage the wounds of victims beneath the wheels of injustice. We are to drive a spoke into the wheel itself." And then he later said in the same speech, "Silence in the face of evil is itself evil. God will not hold us guiltless. Not to speak is to speak, not to act is to act." And the man whose painting that you have on the wall there has a famous quote saying, "A man is not a man until he learns to obey. I call upon you today to obey the God who made you, who knit and formed you together in the womb of your mother, just like he did the 40,500 children who have already been put to death this year alone in this state." The Jewish king Solomon says in Proverbs, "These things also belong to the wise. It is not good to show partiality in judgment. He who says to the wicked, you are righteous, him the people will curse. Nations will abhor him, but those who rebuke the wicked will have delight, and a great blessing will come upon them." And what is righteous judgment? The same king says early in the same chapter, "Deliver those who are drawn toward death, and hold back those stumbling to the slaughter. If you say, 'Surely we did not know this,' does not he who weighs the hearts consider it? He who keeps your soul, does he not know it? And will he not render to each man according to his deeds?" And then what is the conclusion of the matter? Well, it says, "Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is man's all. For God will bring every work into judgment, including every secret thing, whether good or evil." What you do here today will be brought up before God on the day of judgment. So I ask you this, when you stand before God, and you will, do you want to say, "I did all that I could with my position and authority to protect the children you made in your image"? Or would you rather stand here and give the same lame excuses that we've heard today? And then one more thing, because I've heard it egregiously and ignorantly stated that the Bible is silent on abortion. In Exodus 21, 22 through 25, we read, "If men fight and hurt a woman with child, so that she gives birth prematurely, yet no harm follows, he shall surely be punished according to the woman's husband, what the woman's husband, imposes on him, and he shall pay as the judges determine. But if any harm follows, that would be death, then ye shall give life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burn for burn, wound for wound, stripe for stripe. Thank you, and praise the triune living God of the Bible.
Thank you. All right. At this time, I don't see anyone else that would like to speak, so anyone else? I will close public comment. I will bring it back to the board. Before I do so, I would like to also mention, we listened to everyone. We were quiet, we were respectful. Now we're going to obviously have a decision to make and discuss the issue. So please show us the same respect. No matter what happens here, I would really appreciate if no one reacts. These are tough decisions. We've listened for 3 different board meetings because I felt like it was very important that we heard all sides, and I think we have. So that being said, I'd like to bring it back to the board for discussion. Would anyone like to open discussion? I will open discussion. All right, so the resolution today, before us today, is intended to oppose language in Amendment 4 because it's very vague. I encourage all of us to read the amendment carefully. This resolution does not change anyone's ability to vote. It simply would be a resolution saying, please read it. Please look at it. I think the language is vague for a reason. And I would not consider myself a leader if I didn't stand up and realize and read the resolution and say, there's something wrong here. And I think it's important that we bring that up. So that's my discussion part of it. I wanted everyone to have the ability to speak on it. It's a very hot subject. Obviously, there's no right answer. But we are a divided country. But we should always understand we can help the unborn. So how can we do that? Let's read it very carefully. Everyone, this is not restricting anyone's ability to vote. So when people say that, that is not true. So that's what I'd like to say. Would anyone else like to make a comment on the board?
I'll make a comment, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much. So some of the speakers and some of the stories we heard today were just gut-wrenching, heartbreaking stories that we got a chance to hear today. And actually, while many people were speaking, I actually said a prayer for them, for healing, and for them. I wish that the one thing I could convey is compassion and love and empathy and respect for people who I may disagree with on this issue. The greatest commandment, we've heard a lot of Bible today, is to love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. The second greatest is like that. It's to love your neighbor as yourself. So love God and love people. And so, I just want people to know that even if I disagree with you on this issue, it doesn't mean I don't love you. It doesn't mean I'm hateful. People who believe in God are not fringe extremists. We're not deplorables. We're not weird. We're actually like great people who would stop and pull over and help you if you were on the side of the road and needed help. So with all that said, I agree with you, Mr. Chairman, that this language, I believe, is very broad. It's very open to interpretation. It is very misleading, and I don't think that I think voters need to be made aware that this is something that deserves a second look. And so I will support that motion when it's made.
Okay. Anyone else? Commissioner Orane.
Thank you. Appreciate Richard, our county attorney, bringing this to our forefront. I was asked on Saturday.
Have a great day, sir.
I was asked on Saturday, why is this before us? And is it right or wrong? In my 18 years in government, the constituent basically voices their opinion as loudly as they have. This issue's come out loudly and clearly, and I don't get to choose what votes I do or don't make. I have to make them regardless. I have to also suppress my personal feelings in this issue. I listened to the majority of the people that have come here, and all the emails that have come in, we've read them, we've answered every single one, we've obviously dealt with them. I agree with the two commissioners and feel the constituent clearly has indicated what their belief is. Whether you agree or you disagree, the thing through the process is I've seen a lot of emotional speakers, and I've excused some emotion that basically threatens if I don't vote this particular way, then they're going to vote me out of office. That's your prerogative. And every day I make a decision up here, that's what I do. And if this vote changes your mind, so be it. But it's my responsibility to vote this way. It is certainly the constituents that asked us to do so. And they've come here for 3 and 4 meetings and spent hours upon hours upon hours. And having sat up here for the last 4 years, I haven't seen that much engagement with the constituent on many issues. So I also, with the two commissioners, do think the language is far too vague, do think this is something that we have a right as a resolution to put forward. And as everyone had indicated, a resolution is just something opposing the vagueness in the wording. Those are my comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Pendergast.
Thank you, Commissioner Rain. Unfortunately, there's people that were going to vote for us. They already left the room anyway, so they're not going to have the opportunity in November to do that. But so we should talk about the big, I'd say, elephant in the room here. We're here today. It's unfortunate we're having to have this discussion because, the DNC decided over a year ago to challenge the state of Florida because the legislation was going through the House last year and got passed. So now that's back in our lap because the state made a decision. The DNC decided over a year ago, since they had either DeSantis or another resident of Florida running for president, they're going to make the state of Florida, they need to push the polls to get people to drive people to the polls to vote this year. So here's what they use. They use an emotional issue like this, bring it forward. Us with our neighbors having to have this discussion, which, at the end of the day, we don't want to have this discussion with our neighbors, but we have to now because they decided to make this an issue to bring people to polls. So here we are today with some very vague language that threw it together, which also has mandated funding back to the county that would receive if this was passed in its entirety the way it is now. But they know it's probably what I was hearing last week, the DNC, was they probably know it's going to get challenged if it got passed. Their goal is to drive people to the polls in November for the presidential election, which is unfortunate because they're using women's rights and using this issue for this reason. I disagree with that. But I understand why we're here, and I support my other colleagues on this.
Commissioner Sandell.
Obviously is very personal in nature and has drawn strong opinions on both sides. And that's been clearly communicated to the board. In the end, this will be decided by all of us at election time. Personally, I am pro-life, okay? And when I cast my individual vote in November, I will do so accordingly. I trust you'll honor my position as I will honor yours. That said, I was taken back when the board was asked to involve in this, but my constituency is all of Lee County, okay? Be it a yes vote or a no vote. Again, the final decision will come from all who will vote in November, as it should be. We should be carefully study the topic, help inform people, trust in our own beliefs, and vote accordingly as you see fit. So my feeling is that I would not adopt the resolution as it stands.
Okay. All right. So that, I will make one last comment unless commissioners want to add to that. But my comment to that is it shows you exactly how voting goes, is that everyone has a right to their opinion. Everyone has a right to make a vote. And that's what happened here today, even with this board. So that being said, I will ask, does anyone want to make a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'll move approval of the resolution to oppose Amendment 4.
I'll second it.
Okay. Any further discussion? Seeing none? Any objections? Okay, we have objection from Commissioner Sandelli. Resolution passes 4-1. Thank you. All right. I will allow a moment, if everyone would like to, that we have more business to do, so I will hold up before we move to the next item of people that are going to be leaving. So.
You should be ashamed of yourself. It has nothing to do with voting and everything to do with controlling women, and you know it!
Thank you. God bless you.
While we voted, though.
Ballot. Okay.
Deputy, we're still in session, get her out of here. We're still in session, Yeah, get her out here.
Yep.
We're still in session.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes. So I would ask everyone, we're still in session, if you would please step outside unless you have business, future business in front of us, because we do have more business in front of us. Thank you.
All right.
Okay. Let me make sure where we're at here so I don't. All right, we're at walk-ons and carryovers. There are no walk-ons or carryovers, excuse me. So we'll move on to commissioner items. Commissioner Hammond, do you have any items?
I have none.
Commissioner Pendergrass.
I just want to just bring up something. I had a chance this week. It was a long weekend, and I wasn't sure if anybody else wants to talk about it or staff was going to update. We've all got some communications last week or two about the transportation going to Sanibel, and I don't know if Commissioner Wayne's already been engaged, and I didn't want to put it on as a commissioner item yet because with FDOT, with the bridge closure, and I know over the weekend I emailed some staff about that, and I just don't know if there's any other communication going on about what we can do, maybe talk to have our delegation work with FDOT and our district about how to reduce some of that, not just congestion, the lack of accessibility that's really going to hurt the businesses and restaurants down on Captiva and Sanibel.
Yes,
Sure.
Mr. Arnold.
Yes, Commissioner Ruane and I have a meeting with LK today, so we will broach that subject.
Oh, okay, great. So that's one, I didn't know that. That's why over the weekend I got emails and phone calls and stuff, and that's why I wanted to bring it up. But I wanted to ensure if there's an update, and I'm sure you guys will update us then. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Commissioner Sandelli.
I'm good.
Commissioner Ronnie.
Just for some clarification, so we arranged to meet with LK about a Pine Island issue as well as the Sanibel issue, so that's why I brought that up. And then additionally, just for the board's own edification, is I am meeting with the Lee Health people with staff to go over a lot of the financial information. I will report back at the next commission meeting as a commission item, so you all have the same information. I believe I dispersed all the information that was given to me. As I continue to do that, I'll make sure that we forward it on to the county manager and you get every piece that I get. Those are my only items, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, I have an item. I would like to discuss the nomination of Anthony Farhat to serve as voting member and chair of the CDBG-DR Affordable Housing Development Evaluation Committee. Is there any public comment on this? Okay.
Second? Is that a motion?
Yes, that's a motion, and I will need a second. So I got a second from Commissioner Pendergrass. Or is there any discussion? Nope. No discussion. Motion approves unanimous, 5-0. Okay, moving on to committee appointments. Commissioner Hammond, do you have any committee appointments?
I do. I have one reappointment today, Mr. Chairman. I move that we reappoint Amy Tebow to the Land Development Code Advisory Committee.
Second.
All right. Do we have a second? Any objections? No? I'm sorry. A second from Commissioner Wayne. I'm sorry. Any objections? No objections. 5-0. Commissioner Pendergrass. You have
no appointments.
Commissioner Sandelli, no appointments. Commissioner Wayne, no appointments. I have an appointment. I will appoint Don Bellamarich to the CDBG-DR Affordable Housing Evaluation Committee and reappointment of Jim France to the Land Development Code Committee. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second. Any objections? No objections. Moves unanimously. Okay. Is there any other further business in front of us? Seeing none, we are adjourned. Am I missing anything?
Oh. 5 o'clock? No.
Oh, where am I missing? Oh, I'm missing, sorry, County Manager. Would you like to speak today?
We have nothing other than the budget, the first budget hearing is at 5:05 today in this chamber.
Okay. County Attorney items?
Nothing further, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. I'm sorry I didn't recognize y'all today. It's been a long day. A lot of cards to read, a lot of names mispronounced. Okay, moving on to public presentation and matters by citizens. I do have a comment card. Tara Jenner.
Hold on, got to change hats. Doing this in my private capacity, not in this one.
Okay.
I'd just like to raise to the attention of the board, I'm pretty sure you're familiar with some of the concerns and allegations that came up regarding our supervisor of elections, Tommy Doyle. And efforts have been made to reach out to Cord Bird to see if he had any input. And the word that we got back was, it's a county matter, it's a county financial matter, it's something that needs to be addressed here. And it's got nothing to do with election integrity. So I don't know what, if anything, the board can do or consider, but my concern as a private citizen is that forget the salacious aspect of it. That's not what I'm talking about. My concern is that there have been at least allegations raised and concerns brought to light that county money that was used or money that was supposed to be used through the supervisor of elections office may have been misappropriated, either because of time spent on the job doing activities that were not work related, and or a settlement agreement that was maybe using monies inappropriately. So I'd like the commission to please look into whether this is something that falls within your purview, and if so, my recommendation would be, if you have the authority to do so, maybe put some leverage, for lack of a better description, if you don't have that authority, upon the powers that be to be able to have an audit done of the finances through the supervisor of elections office, and have law enforcement look to see if there's any criminal intent. Leaving it vague and undefined and without resolution or a decision is not in the best interest of Lee County. I'm not saying there's anything inappropriate that's been done, but when there is a specter of inappropriateness out there, it can impact the way that our county government is perceived and how elections and integrity of elections are perceived. Having said that, my recommendation also would be a little bit further, and that would be that if there is an investigation that is done, whether that's done from a comptroller standpoint or a legal standpoint, I think it should be done from outside the county. I'm not saying that there is impropriety, but there is a potential appearance of a connectivity because of campaign finance manager connections between Mr. Doyle and other individuals who normally in Lee County would address those matters. So I just throw that out there for your consideration and leave it at that. Thank you.
All right, would anyone else like to speak on public presentation of matters by citizens? All right. Please state your name again, Joyce, please.
Joyce Campana. I think I have a card up there, too.
Yeah, it's very
You got
possible.
it somewhere in your mix. Since you just passed a resolution opposing Amendment 4, I'm asking the board to pass a resolution in favor of adult personal use of marijuana, known as Amendment 3, which allows anyone over 21 years old to use and possess up to 3 ounces of marijuana. There are both fiscal and personal health issues for supporting this amendment. And I understand we have a budget hearing, first one today. This is right up your alley. The Florida Division of Elections estimates an increase in state tax annually ranging from a low of $195.6 million to $431.3 million, not including the possible enactment of an excise tax. The startup costs of approximately $20 million would be covered by the revenue generated during the first year. The revenues from Amendment 3 would certainly generate more revenues than a source like tolls, which was identified in your, the Commissioner's 23-24 strategic priorities. Passage of Amendment 3 may also lead to a boost in tourism dollars. Job generation, and those numbers are based on what has been seen in other states. Job generation and less prison crowding were also identified in those other states as cost savings. Legislation would allow law enforcement to direct their efforts to more severe and heinous crimes. In terms of jobs, Amendment 3 would directly benefit an existing Florida business, a local grower of marijuana. This would allow the expansion of and generate well-paying jobs. Personal use of marijuana includes following benefits. We know that Florida has medical marijuana use, but this would be for personal use to relieve chronic pain, depression, anxiety, relieve stress as an alternative to alcohol, to promote joy and relaxation. Passage of Amendment 3 means public spaces will remain smoke-free. There's laws on the books to allow the regulation, like with tobacco. Existing laws will enforce smoking in undesignated areas, and 15 Florida counties and cities have already decriminalized marijuana based on the benefits experienced in other states in the form of revenues and tourism dollars and health and well-being of its citizens of Lee County and Florida. I ask you to prepare a resolution in support of Amendment 3 for the September 17th board meeting. The precedent you just established by passing the resolution on Amendment 4, as requested by another group, mandates you respond to the constituents in support of this amendment.
Thank you, Joyce.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Anyone else wish to speak at this time? Okay, seeing none, I will close public comment. There is not a workshop this afternoon, but there is a 5:05 p.m. public hearing on the budget today. So if there's no further business before us.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
If I may, and I apologize for the interruption.
Yes, sir.
And we don't normally do this, but given the first speaker's concerns, it touches on a matter which you have all individually contacted my office regarding, and as I commended to you individually and now do so publicly with regard to the supervisor of elections. That is a separately elected constitutional officer. As such, the Board of County Commissioners does not have regulatory authority over that individual. That individual is answerable to the governor and/or the Commission on Ethics with regard to an audit. It's my understanding that his office, as it does annually, is part of the county's overall audit, which is then sent to the Auditor General for the state of Florida. So the issues are addressed. However, as I stated and commended to you privately, the Board of County Commissioners does not have regulatory authority over the conduct of the affairs of a separately elected constitutional officer. I apologize for the interruption.
No, I appreciate you bringing that up. It was an oversight on my part. So anyway, any other business in front of us? We are adjourned.
Try again.